Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast, another edition of the Double Pivot. We're on episode 13. I hope we're all well who's watching, and also going to catch up via audio on YouTube and Twitter, or X, whatever you like to call it. But first of all, introducing the panel with me this evening. Gavin, how have you been? You've been quiet this summer so far. Have you got up to anything, any holidays? How's your summer been at the moment?
Aye, it's been pretty good, man. I'm just back from Turkey. I booked an appointment to try and get like facial hair implants, but it just never worked out. So back to square one. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. To be honest, it's been a crap summer weather-wise. It's ridiculous outside right now with the wind, with the rain. But thankfully we've got the Euros to kind of keep us engaged. So in terms of being a Celtic fan, you know, I don't like to say there's not much to talk about. I'm sure there is plenty to talk about, but waiting for things to happen. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's 100%. It looks like your tree has grew over the summer. Very impressive. That's been getting the rain all right. And Franny, what about yourself, buddy? How have you been?
Pretty quiet myself, Stephen. Obviously moved jobs fairly recently, then so I've just kind of been quiet, just get my feet in the door there and stuff. And then, as I said, been over in Germany to watch Scotland. I met Willie and that. Me and Ross obviously went over with a couple other guys. So I've had a no bad few weeks.
Yeah, no, it looked class. Germany tips. I'm sure you, Ross, and Willie would do a podcast someday this summer talking about the adventures and maybe the misbehaving that you've done over there, which would be interesting to hear on the podcast. A bit of fun.
No, what was it with his wife? What was it with his wife? No misbehaving.
You know, you never know. Maybe a couple of drinks too many. Who knows? But look, Gav, obviously we'll have a wee topic list to go through, but we'll start with something that kind of broke again today. Idah. Apparently there's been a solid approach made by Celtic. Now, let's be fair here, that we'll have to be naive in the head not to think that Celtic have been talking to Norwich ever since this loan spell's ended. I was saying in our chat, the group chat today, maybe it's Celtic now putting down the foot saying, you accept this offer or we're going to look elsewhere. It seems like by news this evening that the offer's been rejected, 4 million initially up front, plus add-ons. Norwich seem to be playing hardball. Obviously, it's their player, and the manager wants to see if he can impress in pre-season, which is that's his own prerogative to do so. But the whole Idah thing, for me, it's important it doesn't drag on, and it doesn't drag on all summer, because I think it's vitally important to get into this season. And we talk about the Champions League. We're playing 8 games, 2 extra from the group stage in that new format and things like that. And we need to be really quick on the ball here with transfer targets. And if Norwich say no, if they do one more counter offer, fair enough. But if it keeps going on, just kind of cut ties, let the fella go and move on to the other, hopefully, good striking transfer targets.
Yeah. Well, centre forward is centre forward is obviously a position that we need to address. Idah is obviously earned a lot of fans from Celtic for what he did, and so yeah, if the news is to believe, we put in the offer. I don't know if it is 4 million or if the headline figure should be higher than that, because like the caveat is with add-ons. What are the add-ons, like the Celtic to win the league, and then the offer goes higher? Of course, we're going to win leagues under him anyway. But I guess, yeah, that's a player that we would like to add to our ranks. And I was thinking, is that a serious offer? Do we think that represents good value? 4 million plus add-ons. I think it's kind of regretful that the fact that the figure has been made public, because then if it doesn't work out with Idah, if we go for, just for talking's sake, to appease young James, if we were to go to Majovsky after this, to Aberdeen, and we went to Majovsky, then that's a figure that clubs can use in their favour, you know, to kind of counter bid our offer. So a bit great to get him, but every man's got a price. I don't know if 4 million is a realistic figure. People, you know, early on in the summer were talking about 6 million, 7 million. It's curious that we've waited this long. I wonder if Norwich said, look, we need to let our manager, you know, have a look at his squad and find out if they really value Idah. Maybe we were told to wait. I don't know, but I don't think 4 million represents good value for Idah. So I guess another thing is, I wouldn't like this to rumble on. I would hope that where we are right now in the summer. I know it's still early days, relatively speaking, but I would like to think that we've got other targets in the background, and that we won't embarrass ourselves in the media by letting this rumble on all summer. So hopefully, if this is nowhere near what they want, then we move on. Another part of the report I heard was that Norwich don't want to let him go at all. So if that part is kosher, then we should just say okay and move on. So I guess that's where I stand.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest gripes as well. And Ryan from the Celtic Unrestricted Few podcast, Franny comes in. Celtic know that bid was never getting a look in. They know roughly what may tempt Norwich. Pretty poor from the club, in my opinion. The lad, we're trying to get him on the cheap, basically. Hope you are well. Same to you guys, you, JP and Alan, who do a good job over there on the Celtic Unrestricted Few podcast. But Franny, I think that the sentiment is here. It's always, I mean, you've seen the debate today, and again in the group chat, sometimes it looks heated, but it's the same conversations that go on year in, year out when transfer windows involved. Me and you are heavily involved in them. And we love a rumour. We love getting our teeth stuck into like players who may be coming in, who may be leaving, which we will do during this podcast as well. But the Alameda situation, obviously the impact he made, scored the winning goal in the cup final. The cliche, he's Irish and he gets it, but that does come into it because he is actually Irish and he supports Celtic from a boy. And I'm sure if he wants to push through the move, he probably can. But at the end of the day, it's up to Norwich to accept that bid. And 4 million, if we really wanted him, I think is pretty poor from the club. I know we're probably testing the water to see if we can meet in the middle. But like Gav, my major concern is we keep going back to Norwich with different counter offers. We're missing out on other probably striking targets that we should have on a book to say, can we get this guy? Can we get this guy? And if we're primarily focused on an Alameda, these other people may move on. And look, I'm not saying I know who these striking targets are, but you would assume so. That Celtic have a multitude of players that they're after, and that includes additional striking targets on top of Alameda.
Yeah, I would assume so, Stephen. They've got other targets, and Idah, from the outside looking in, looks like he's the number one target. Obviously, Rodgers made it clear after the cup final that he wanted to make the deal permanent and stuff. Obviously, they're not having the option to buy, or well, the agreed fee. We may have had the option to buy him or first refusal to buy him, but not negotiating a fee for that, like we've done with Jota, Carter Vickers and guys like Bernardo. You always run that risk. Obviously, you hope the guy comes in and does well because you'll bring him in on loan, but it then only inevitably drives up his price. So that's obviously the risk you run. We obviously got the Norwich changing manager. That's probably no help things because the new guy might come in. He'll then look at it and go, well, this guy actually went up to Scotland. The guy we brought in to allow that guy to leave didn't score a goal. Sydney Weissenhofen. So a lot of us, myself included, wanted Celtic to go all out and get him. And obviously he'll maybe look at it and go, well, I want to hear a look at Adam Idah. I want to see him. I'm like you, I don't want it to drag out. I don't want it to be a saga. I feel like we were haggling to try and spend all summer and the season's kicked off and you're still just essentially all eggs in one basket. Not necessarily all eggs in one basket, but you're fully focused on getting Idah. Like you say, you might miss out on other targets. And it's like we're signing Idah on the last day of the window. And maybe that's where the thought the managers came in and, like Gavin touched on, apparently Norwich have rumoured to have said that they don't want to sell. I think like any club, especially at Norwich's level, we'll say we don't want to sell somebody, but it's probably to drive up the price a wee bit, in fairness. Then maybe there's some truth. Maybe they don't want to sell. Maybe the new guy's like, well, no, I want to build my team around him. I can see it. And for me, obviously Celtic will have a valuation of the player. Norwich have a valuation of the player. I think, personally for me, I think it's a low ball offer. I think Celtic knew the region they had to be in. You know what? The add-ons might be up to what Norwich are really looking for him. Unfortunately, we don't know what the add-ons are. I would imagine the majority of them would be achievable add-ons, but maybe some of them, Norwich are maybe looking and going, well, we're not going to get all our money. And I would also suspect the add-ons, if they're not at the figure Norwich want, they'll be very close. I don't think we'll be a million miles away from where we want to be. And I just, with Rodgers kind of been publicly saying he wants to make that deal permanent, I don't want us missing out on Adam Idah for, say, £1 million, £1.5 million. Now, I'm not saying go and spend silly money on the guy. I'm not, like if it's 9, 10, 11 months, obviously I'm not being silly like that, but I don't want, say, it being 6, say just chuck it £6 million, because that seems to be a figure that's getting floated about. I don't want us bidding like 5 and £1 million add-ons. It might not be quite achievable. We miss out on the guy for £1 million. Equally, I don't mind going maybe £1 million a butt. Like if we think, oh, he's £6 million, but Norwich say we want 7, I'm happy to go to 7. The money for me isn't so much the issue. It's getting guys that Rodgers wants. I don't want us missing out on guys that Rodgers wants. I know Wally's talking it in the chat, and I kind of hate going back to McGinn myself, but I don't want to miss out. I don't want a McGinn situation. I don't want a Stephen Fletcher situation where we miss out on somebody just because we weren't willing to push that wee bit extra. And not, like, obviously, you can't be going spending 4, 5, 6 million over what you think the guy's worth. But £1 million, I think that's fair to maybe just go, right, well, it's £1 million over what we've done. And let's be honest, if you said to, I think in today's market, 6 million is probably a fair figure, I think, for Adam Idah, in my opinion. And you've got a body of evidence to say, look, he came in, had 9 goals, a couple of assists in half a season, big goals. He scored 2 against Rangers, 1 being the cup final. A bit of poor game management, maybe away from actually a winning goal at Ibrox as well. So I think the guy, we all admitted the guy done everything he could. So as I say, I don't want penny pinching, if you like, going back to the old, like the fact that we've got all that money in the bank now. I think all fans are logical and we're not expecting to spend every penny on that. But when you've got that money, you don't want to be missing it. It doesn't look good if you miss out on targets for, say, £1 million or whatever. Obviously, we don't really know what the figure Norwich are wanting if they're willing to sell. But I just, as I say, for me, I think we need to go all in as best we can on guys that Rodgers wants without really blowing too much money. Like, I'm happy to go £1 million above what maybe we value the guy at, just to get Rodgers' guys.
Yeah, no, I kind of get that train of thought. Before we kind of continue that debate, Gavin, I do want to address, obviously, the sad news that surfaced today that Rosemary Burns has unfortunately passed away. So be up there joining her beloved Tommy, and I hope they can find happiness and peace together. And I think everyone on the podcast would kind of advocate them thoughts and go along with that as well. So our thoughts and prayers with the Burns family, their family and friends, and the wider Celtic football community as well. So yeah, but in regards to what Franny was saying, Gavin, we're talking about 6 to 7 million for Adam Idah. There was again a lot of debate. What is he worth? What's he worth to the team? And again, you can't really knock his impact that he did have, especially towards the latter end of the season. Obviously, the biggest goal there was the cup final goal. Kyogo's come into the discussion. Obviously, there's rumours that he might be leaving the club back to Japan, and there was a rumour today I seen on Twitter. Again, I know these are rumours, but we don't really have much to go on, so it's good to talk about them. That Celtic are holding out for roughly, I think it was 15 to 18 million pounds for Kyogo. For me, I don't see that happening. But if we do spend a decent chunk of change, 6 to 7 million on Adam Idah, would you kind of foresee him coming in as Rodgers' like main striker? Because we know the profile of striker he likes in the past. Is that where he's going again?
It's a good question. I've actually got a question I'd like to throw back to you about something, but to get back to what you've said, I actually think, and people might disagree with me, I think players like Kyogo are harder to find than Adam Idah. Now, we all know what Kyogo is like, his profile. Don't need to elaborate on that. But I think with Adam Idah, there's more. It's easier to find players of his ilk without criticising him. I think he's a bit of a flat track bully. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think Adam Idah, from my experience so far last season, I felt that he excelled in the away games whenever we were playing against opposition who we were finding it difficult, not difficult to break down, but whenever we were trying to kind of play out from the back and we were struggling with that, we had to play over the top. in order to kind of make yards up the pitch, and Kyogo would be wasted sometimes in those situations. I felt Adam Idah was perfect for that sort of thing. He was a perfect foil for that type of game. So I think he excelled in the away games. He obviously did well at Hampden in the last game, memorably. And he did very well at Ibrox too. He's a flat track bully in the way that he can hold the ball up and he can run with the ball and like get us those yards up the pitch without sounding like an NFL fan. So I think that he was a great alternative to Kyogo. But I think on your day, like if we're playing Rangers at home at Parkhead, who you're going to start? It was always going to be Kyogo. I just think that Adam Idah is suited to a different type of game. And the majority of games domestically, I would say Kyogo is your man for that. Whenever we're playing against teams who end up backing up, and we're playing against like two banks, and Kyogo, I think, is the best man for that. However, there were plenty instances last season away from home where Adam Idah was the best man for that. So I think Kyogo would always be my number one, my number 9. But we were struggling last season. There were so many factors going against us. Injuries, change of style, a wee bit more laboured in our approach and getting it down the wings. And of course, the quality in the wings, which were the main kind of supply for Kyogo, that was kind of stunted. So Kyogo didn't look good for a number of factors, and it kind of made Adam Idah look very good. So I think Kyogo would always be my number 1. The question I was going to ask you, Stephen, was, sometimes whenever a player leaves Parkhead, and the longer they're away from Parkhead, the better they are in your memory. A lot of people talk about Giakoumakis and how fondly they remember Giakoumakis and how much of a mistake it was to get rid of him. Say, for example, Idah doesn't sign for Celtic and we go down a different path. Who do you think will be most fondly remembered? Idah or Giakoumakis? And who do you think was a better player?
For me, like, I would have to go Giakoumakis. There was a long debate when Giakoumakis had that run when Kyogo was injured about him actually being the first choice and taking over that mantelpiece. I thought his one-touch finishing was excellent, albeit he didn't score against Sevco, but he kept him busy. He was a key part of that reason of the game. We won the 3-0 game at February time at Parkhead. He just ran them ragged, and I think he scored a goal in Europe as well. And he was there longer, so he had enough time to make an overall impact on the team and squad. And I think what I've noticed about Giakoumakis, regardless if I think he'll be remembered fondly or more fondly than Idah, is his attitude when he leaves clubs. His attitude when he went to Atlanta in the MLS, he was slating Celtic in some kind of way. He's moved to Cruz Azul in Mexico. He's slated the standard of the MLS. And so it's like a trend with him. I don't know if he likes to kind of give himself that motivation to do well in the new league, and that's fair enough. But it's the attitude I would question more, and you kind of think back to the time when he left. Maybe it was the right choice for both parties that he did leave the club. But for me, it would have to be Giakoumakis in a nutshell. I just thought his one-touch finishing was excellent, and he was a bustler. And my granddad always says to me that he likes big bustling centre forwards, and I think Gigi epitomised that. And look, Adam Idah, if he was there, I think for a longer period of time, he would overtake that, of course. But he was only there from January to the end of the season there gone past. But Franny, what about yourself and Gav's question?
I think I'm going Gigi as well. I mean, a bit of that's probably down to, like you touched on there, Stephen, he was at the club longer, so he had longer to make an impact. Arguably, you could say he does got the 2 goals against Rangers. They weren't token goals. They were massively important goals. Gigi doesn't have that on his record, but like you said, the games against Rangers, he bullied them, absolutely bullied them. I think it was McGregor that was in goal that 3-0 game, and if it wasn't for McGregor, Gigi would have had at least 2 goals. He had a good header that McGregor saved for, then he had a good shot at the near post that McGregor again tipped over the bar. But it was just like times when he came on against him. I think it was a game at Parkhead. It was a Parkhead where it may have been the 3-0 game, I'm not so sure, but where Kyogo got injured in the first minute or something. And you just seen Giakoumakis standing in the sidelines as if to say, I'll show you, these things are getting easy now. Wait and see. And I think as well, it's hard to, it feels like a dig at Adam Idah when considering the impact he did have. But if you had a run of games, say like if Kugel went out and got injured for a couple months, I'm sitting looking and going, I would rather, if I had the option there, I would rather have Gigi in to fill in than Adam Idah. Obviously, we don't really know if Adam Idah could properly fill in that role because he was never really needed to fill in for Kyle. He came in, like Gav said, and he had his moments. And I think Gav made a good point about him away goals. I think actually out of the 9 of them, seven goals I think he scored away from home, which is a really good record, whereas Giakoumakis done it home and away. So I think for me, to answer Gav's question, I think I'm going Giakoumakis. Not to say if Idah came in, he would not then go on to surpass that, but I kind of like Giakoumakis there. I've had a soft spot for him.
There was something different about him. What about you, Gav, to bring the question full circle? You asked it, you finish it.
See, I kind of want to agree with you guys. Giakoumakis, obviously a different age and different experience. I think he was more of an animal in the box. But see that Kilmarnock game, so whatever we want to do, that Kilmarnock game where Adam Idah played out of his skin, I don't think Giakoumakis played that level.
No, I don't think he does that.
I think that level that Idah showed in that particular game, I don't think Giakoumakis ever got to that. But of course, that's just one game. Over a larger sample size, maybe Giakoumakis, yeah.
Yeah, the guy was, I mean, both of them were top class in their own right, and the kind of the role they had to play. And Alistair Jacobson, Stephen, you're going to admit we've not replaced Moy. I think for me, Alistair, you all know my opinion on Aaron Moy, and this is a pretty damning feeling on the board itself. I mean, we haven't replaced Starfelt, Jada. I mean, Moy's one of them with experience and composure. So again, that needs sorted out in the future in this transfer window. And Franny, I'll start with yourself. I mean, we've been linked with a few players recently. The first player that I've noted down was Dara O'Shea. Plays for Burnley, obviously played under Vincent Kompany. He started off at St Cavan's Bhoys, went to West Brom, then moved to Burnley on a permanent transfer in 2023. He's played for Ireland 26 times, fully fledged international. And what I've seen the reports of him, like I'm not going to say I know a lot about Dara O'Shea. All I know is he's a good, solid defender. And I've seen something on the Celtic Way by Ryan McGinley saying he's got a bit of everything: pace, play out from the back, very physical, can play a lofted pass as well. So signs in that direction are looking good for the profile of player we're looking for. Only thing I would question here is he was a mainstay in that Premier League team in Burnley, albeit, yeah, maybe they got relegated, but tough league, and Vincent Kompany's first time there, even though he got a move to Bayern Munich off the back of it. Like, again, that's just baffling. But Dara O'Shea, centre-back's an issue we need sorting out. Obviously, Carter Vickers there. We've got Mike Naraki, Lagerbielke is still kicking around, Stephen Welsh, and Liam Scales. Would centre-back be a high priority position for you at the moment?
I think so, because I think we all admitted Liam Scales kind of found his level. He started maybe showing some bits where you were like, well, you found a ceiling point. You're a good player, Scales, but it's just not good enough to take us to that next level where we need to be. Certainly a good squad player, Scales. I think what he showed is you can have confidence for him to fill in for maybe guys to get a rest and things. So it's good that we're looking at centre half. Obviously, if the reports that I believe that whether we're in for this O'Shea boy or we're actually looking at centre halves, it tells you all you need to know, I think, about what Rogers thinks Narovke and Lagerbielke. I mean, well, I think we all know Lagerbielke is all but out the door. It would surprise me if he's here in any capacity by the window closes. In Narovke, I don't know what the deal is with him. It just feels like maybe, I think we all thought that was a Rogers signing, but everything would tell you it's not. And it's every time he's come in, I mean, he's had moments, but I think there is a player there in Narovke. So I would happily keep him, but I just don't think he's probably what I hang about if he's not got to get his game. And what I've managed to read up and look up in that boy O'Shea, he looks a really good player, and I think they bought him for $7 million a season ago. I know they got relegated. I don't really think Burnley are really struggling for money. They still get the parachute payments to drop down and stuff. And I've seen some reports where they might ask for something like 15 to 20 million. I just didn't see Celtic on that. And I think Rodgers even said last season we wouldn't spend that kind of money on players. So It's one I don't see happening, Stephen. But if it does, maybe there's some clause in his contract. If he got relegated, they could go for the money what they sold him for or whatever. I don't know, but he certainly looks a good profile. Rodgers, I think, likes a British kind of core a wee bit to a team at times.
Irish.
Looks that way. An Irish centre half and an Irish striker. But it's somebody that knows the British game and stuff. So I want somebody that can hang her hat on, that can fill in next to Carter Vickers, that can either be at his level or better. And then it allows you, obviously, Carter Vickers had a bit of injury problems last season, so it may allow you to manage him a wee bit better, knowing that Scales, we know, can do a job. I'm not saying he needs to get a run of 5-10 games, but maybe CCV can play 2 and Scales comes in for the odd game here and there. So it might help you manage CCV a bit, and if not, the Rocky's still there, you could maybe, I think that would be 4 good centre halves that you could rely on, really.
Yeah, and James Kennedy comes in. Gav, Scales is not good enough for Europe, but we need a better defender along with Carter Vickers. And Franny was right. Dara O'Shea looks to have all the hallmarks, albeit the bottom for quite a high fee in our standards for £7 million in West Brom just a year or so ago. They're going to be looking at returning that investment, obviously, even though they're not short a few quid. One positive you could probably point to is that he's well trained under a system that Vincent Kompany implemented from Pep Guardiola. Rodgers plays that certain possession-based football, so kind of slotting into the team of Celtic wouldn't be really an issue, I don't think, to him. Obviously playing that type of possession-based football the season before. Where do you stand on it? Franny came up with Mike Naraki, again a fella who came in with huge hype and expectation, nearly £4.5 million spent on him, a wee bit more. Hasn't really kicked the ball in anger for us at the moment. He looks good in spells, but then he gets injured and then he breaks down in training and he's just never involved in the squads. I still believe there's a player in there, but if we're looking elsewhere, it must spell the end for him and Lagerbielke, most definitely.
Yeah, well, to quote Neil Lennon, I was bitterly disappointed with the recruitment last summer. Lagerbielke and Nawrocki, it was just, I don't know, bad luck, poor research, but the people who perhaps had their fingerprints on those transfers have now gone. We need somebody to dovetail better with Cameron Carter-Vickers than what we've got right now. I think about like your kind of classic centre back pairings, you know, your the tough tackler and the passer, you know, like kind of a Rio Ferdinand and a Vidic, that sort of thing. Steve Bruce and a Pallister. So I'm just thinking about Man U centre back pairings right now.
Gary Caldwell, McManus.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a combination. I would say the tackling Gary Caldwell could pass a ball.
Still kind of proves the theory, you know, like they were players who they were more than the sum of their parts whenever they played together. You know, they complemented each other. One was more of a tackler. One of them was a better passer of the ball. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers, by the way, isn't a bad passer. I think he's quite adequate. And I like the fact that he passes with speed into feet as well. But he's more of the kind of the tackler, you know, the scary guy. I liked it whenever we had Christopher Ayer, who would kind of do those marauding runs forward. And he would, whenever you are playing against those banks, you know, it was difficult to break down. Having a centre-back who's happy to run forward and commit the midfield and to make those risks, that's what we need. Scales, who's better, I would say, than Lagerbielke and better than Nawrocki. We need someone better than Scales.
Would you say that, Gav? Would you say that? Like, see if you put Nawrocki.
Brendan Rodgers would say that. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, whenever it came to the crunch, whenever we were losing faith with Scales, despite his inadequacies, we still stuck by him because him and Cameron Carter-Vickers, they were the best partnership compared to the other people. So I guess if you're doing a like-for-like basis, is Scales better than Nawrocki or is Scales better than Lagerbielke? Maybe that is a valid point, and maybe my argument falls down in that. But whenever you're talking about a partnership, a solid partnership, a good foundation, then they were the two best players to play against each other. But I think undoubtedly we can improve upon Scales. What the things, the kind of the attributes that I would like to see from a new signing, like passing forward, like being less hesitant, like making those runs to break the lines. That's what I want. But at the same time, be careful what you wish for, because we might bring in someone who can do just that, but they might not be as good as Scales in terms of the do or die, the last ditch defending. And that's the thing, that's the compromise that you need to risk. But we've had a lot of time to think about it. And I don't know much about this guy, Dara O'Shea. From his profile, 25 years old, having just made the move to Burnley and having one season in a top flight and going down, he's going to be on very good wages. And they're going to be one of the favourites. I know it's a tough challenge to get back into a promotion again, but they're going to be one of the favourites to go back up. So if they think it's in their best interest to get rid of him, then we would probably have to shell out a pretty penny to get him. So I don't know much about the player's style, whether that would compliment us or not. It does make you wonder, how did we get to know about O'Shea? Was it because we just watched Ireland? Or surely we're casting our net wider than that. But again, I don't want to be turning my nose up at domestic, Ireland, Britain players. So I don't want to be accused of that. But I think that we need to improve upon Scales, but he's not what we need. I remember talking to you months back to say, whenever I first started the podcast and we did that kind of like quick fire questions, one of the questions I said to you, Stephen, was, would you be disappointed if we started next season with Liam Scales? And you said, yes, you would. I think most people would agree with that. Look, he's done everybody proud, but we can definitely upgrade upon him. So we need to sign somebody, and hopefully we're looking far and wide for that.
Yeah, and I kind of second that opinion as well. Red Scotland, I'd rather a pile of sandbags and a couple of traffic cones at the back than play either Scales or McKenna. Time for the masses to gather on the stadium. Just as I also said this time last year, AR comes in. We aren't bursting the bank for anyone. That offer freedom was laughed at earlier today. If the board are serious, they go in with a serious offer. And Paul McFarland, do you, Franny? Franny looks like the philosopher's stone tonight. Cheer up, mate. But, I mean, I think I'm off the same train of thought. We can keep Scales around as a de facto squad player, and we need someone with better quality to come in that centre-back department, especially in the European football. And as I said, them 2 extra games are going to be so important just to get points on the board and hopefully qualify for the last 32 and not end up embarrassed and pumped out of Europe again. But another player, Franny, we were linked to very early on again this morning was Wilfred Ndidi. I think everyone kind of knows of this player. He plays in the Premier League with Leicester since 2017, over 220 odd appearances. Nigeria international, 58 appearances. Going off Wikipedia, by the way, this isn't at the top of my head. Came from Genk and joined Leicester then. Rodgers liked him by all accounts when he was in charge. He was a mainstay of the team. And I seen a report again coming out just before we come on the podcast saying the agent has rubbished this rumour and said he's not coming to Celtic. But again, if we're talking about profile of player, we're talking about that standard and quality, then Wilfred Ndidi is available on a free transfer, albeit his wages would be high. I know we're linked with Daniel Amarte of Besiktas. Besiktas. He was also with Leicester and Rodgers at one point, so there's another player. He'll be linked with us all summer until he eventually moves to someone else. But a Wilfred Ndidi type, is that someone who we need in the midfield, that enforcer, that number 6, like we've said for years, really?
It's that, Steve. I think we've said it for a wee while now, and I think to an extent we all thought maybe Abelgard would be that guy, but I think that was never an Ange signing. That it was maybe a board signing that one. I think it was, if you go by reports, Ange wanted that boy Sousa, the Brazilian boy, and then we got Abelgard. I know I'm like you, Stephen. I think I seen it about an hour ago that the agent apparently has rubbished these rumours that he's coming to Celtic.
Pretend he didn't.
But I mean, if that's the type of player, it's a profile of type of player I would hope we are looking at, in the sense that he's 27 for a midfielder. It's peak years. Rodgers knows what he can do. He's a top player. I think they did not cost him a wee bit of money. So the wages might have been. Don't know. The wages might have been an issue because it's a free. Maybe could give him a signing on fee and things like that, and you're offering him Champions League football. So, and he's, as I say, he's worked with Rodgers, and they got plenty of game time under Rodgers, so he's maybe got a good relationship there. It would be one I would be really excited if we got in, but I'll pretend the agent didn't rubbish at Stephen and just say I don't think it's going to happen. Something in there's telling me it's not going to happen.
Something. It's not the agent. It's just something in the back of your head that's thinking.
It will happen.
But Gav, I mean, it would be quite an ambitious signing if we got him. And Roger's done this before when he first came in, signing players he trusted. Scott Sinclair, Kolo Toure, obviously different kind of ends of the spectrum in terms of quality and wage expectations at that moment in their careers. He's 27. Indeed, he's still in his prime, things of that nature. And you look at the midfield, we've got O'Reilly, McGregor, Tate, and the likes. And is he something we're missing? Is he that profile? And we've said for years we need that tough tackling number 6 to win the ball back, break up the play. And I seen something on Twitter today which made absolute sense. You can move McGregor up one if you get someone in like that, someone of that ilk to come in, and McGregor can show his exploits further up the pitch where he did the first time under Rodgers. So would Wilfred Ndidi incite you if he came into Celtic?
Yeah, 100%. How many times have we heard people talk about that Wanyama type of player? He is that Wanyama type of player, and not because of his ethnicity, but because of his playing style. He's over 6 foot. He's a unit. He's very athletic, and he's at a very good age. He's coming into the prime of his career. Quite strange that Leicester have not been able to agree a new deal with him, but
they're in trouble though with that FFP, aren't they?
I think so.
That makes sense. So I think at this age in his career, he'll be looking for a big money contract. That's what his agent will be doing. But if money wasn't an option, 100%, I would love to get a player of his profile. I think whenever you've got Callum McGregor playing as your number 6, I don't think Callum McGregor. Disagree with me if you want to, but I don't think he has many defensive qualities to his game. Like he might be streetwise, but in terms of running back, proper pace, proper physicality, that's not Callum McGregor's game. He's never had that. He's never been a Scott Brown who did have that physicality. I don't think Callum McGregor's got that strong core. And that's why I would love to get a defensive playmaker, a defensive midfielder who can help out McGregor. I don't think we need it so much domestically. I think we're able to do without it, and because of our technical prowess, we're able to pass through teams, and even against our toughest rivals, we're able to even do it at Ibrox without having a physical presence in the midfield. I don't think it gives our defence much cover, but I think if we play to our strengths domestically, then we don't need that. However, Callum McGregor's defensive deficiencies are plain for all to see when the level goes up, when we're in Europe, because he doesn't have anyone helping him, and it's not something that he's really well equipped to do. And as I said, it leaves our defence very, very vulnerable. And that's why we ship so many goals in Europe, even under Ange, even under Brendan Rodgers. And it will continue to be that way as long as we play the formation that we do right now with Callum McGregor as a number 6 in Europe. But again, it's what you want. Like, we can achieve domestic dominance without this type of player. But if you want to go a level up in Europe, if you want to do a wee bit of damage, then we need to change it around. So I would love to see it happen. Would McGregor be better push forward? Maybe. He's coming on 31 now, I'd imagine. I don't want to be a detractor and say, does he have the legs to run about the pitch like a proper number 8?
I love this argument. It happened with Scott Brown as well.
Yeah. I think there is merit to that argument. I don't have the answer. I don't quite know. I think he's good in bursts at doing it, but over 90 minutes, constantly up and down. He doesn't have I don't think he's got the energy of a Rio Hatate, perhaps. But it'd be nice to have an option. But indeed, I think that's pie in the sky. I think he's outside of our range, our buying ability. But it'd be nice to find the new Ndidi or the new Wanyama.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that profile of player, Ladar O'Shea and Wilfred Ndidi, does scream Premier League experience. I mean, again, the right profile of player that we should be looking at before we come on to anything else. And people in the comments are firing goalkeepers left, right, and centre here, Franny, and we'll get on to the one goalkeeper link. I think it was Don Baldo said about David De Gea. Again, he's a free agent. No one seems to be sniffing him at all, which is crazy. But one player we have been linked with for the last couple of days is Kasper Schmeichel. Obviously, the Denmark #1, 37 years old. His dad, famously Peter Schmeichel. At the moment, he's playing in Belgium for Anderlecht, made over 31 appearances last season and 105 caps at this moment in time for Denmark, which is quite a lengthy career. I think he's also a Premier League winner with Leicester because he was there from 2011 to 2022. So this is the thing that baffles me, right? Celtic have known, by the way, pre-Christmas. So there you go, Franny, that Joe Hart was going to be out the door, right? Which is fair enough. Get the plans in motion. You know your head of recruitment is going to leave. You know your lead European scout, who's also a golf manager, is going to leave. So that's fine. That's 100%. But why is it that we couldn't have struck a deal for a new #1 between the months of February and before the Euro started? Because you can do these things. You can do pre-contract agreements. You can agree a fee with a club. We've done it when Ange was in situ with the Japanese clubs. We were signing these guys before the window started, and then they joined when the window officially opened. So why is it it's took this amount of time? And as it stands, our goalkeeper tomorrow, well, Friday evening, is going to be Scott Bain. Many to be expected would be him. It's only or United with respect, but we're in a situation where we're going over to America with Scott Bain, Josh Clark, and Toby Oluwami as our 3 goalkeepers. That's not good enough, no matter how much you try and paint that up or say this is why, that's X, Y, and Z. That it's not good enough. There's free contracts, there's experienced keepers available, there's minimal fees you need to pay for some goalkeepers, and it seems like we've sleepwalked again into this position, even though Joe Hart came out and told the public. It doesn't make sense.
Well, to sort of counter your arguments that come back, I would be concerned if we've not signed a goalkeeper by the first league game. If we've not signed a goalkeeper by the first league game, that is, for me, gross mismanagement. Because, like you say,
what about pre-season though?
Well, you want, I mean, an ideal situation, you get everybody in for pre-season, but that doesn't happen. Let's be honest, like last season, we had not signed a player by this point. Season 4, we had not signed a player by this point. And I even think under Ange's first season, we hadn't signed a player by this point. So history tells you we don't really sign guys by this point. Obviously, you can look back at last year's transfer summer window, especially anyway, and say, well, it never worked out. Not many of them. Palma probably is the only one that I could really think off the top of my head that you could say was successful out of, I think in total was 9 boys over the 2 windows, and 2 of them in Idah and Palma were successes. For me, jury's still out in Kuhn. The rest of them, well, the rest of them hardly featured. But I would be concerned if we start Kilmarnock and Scott Baines in goals and we have not signed a goalkeeper. We may sign one the night before, and it just so happens you're like, well, we just need to go with Scott Baines. He's only in the door. Again, I would put that down to a bit of gross mismanagement. But I think if we have not got anybody in the door and we are starting Scott Bain that day, I think it's serious questions need to be asked, saying why have we not got a deal? Now, I agree that we could have had a deal done well in advance. Obviously, you can sign players whenever you want. It's when you can register them is the big thing. Obviously, you could have signed a boy back in February, but couldn't register him. And I know you've probably got a sigh or whatever, Stephen, but I do think the Euros plays a factor. Obviously, keepers would have been linked to. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel's the latest one. Dubravka's been linked and stuff. I think we've been linked to every Turkish goalkeeper that is gone. It seems that we've rumoured we'd actually signed one of them, but that's not came to fruition with that yet. Agents will be looking at this tournament. Agents will look at major tournaments. Let's be honest, agents, they'll claim they're there to get the best deal for their player. They're there to get the best deal for them. If they have a player that has a decent major tournament like the Euros, the agent's on to a bigger fee, and that's what the agent really cares about at the end of the day. Obviously, there was rumours that we'd bid for Livakovic, and it was accepted, and then that was quickly quashed. I think we would all take him in a heartbeat, but he, as far as I'm led to believe, they had a really good season at Fenerbahce. Mourinho's just came in. I just didn't see that deal kind of happening. There is rumours, obviously, he's unsettled over there because of something that happened during the game, but I don't see it. There's also rumours that apparently we've signed, or it'll soon be announced that we'll sign is it the Danish boy Jensen?
Yeah. I was going to come on to him. Yeah.
As I say, I'm not too concerned now, due to the fact that the last few seasons, even including when we all said that Ange got business done early, even Ange hadn't signed a boy by this point. I think it's just what doesn't help the fan base and what doesn't maybe help other folk is we've got all that money in the bank, so the question's always got to be there. Why have we not done it? And obviously with Joe Hart coming out so early and saying, I will be retiring at the end of the season, it does give folk an argument to say, well, we've knew for this long, why have we not got something in? But then you could flip it and go, we're doing proper due diligence, we're trying to not get stuck. I'm hoping they're not going to get stung like how we got led down the garden path with Fraser Foster and ended up with Urman Barkas, who, let's be honest, wasn't a bad keeper. He's went on and I think he's been decent when he left Celtic. It's just, guy was just in the wrong movie. He was terrible at Celtic. Let's not get away from it. It just so happened. These things happen. And maybe, and if we want to be proper cynical, you sometimes didn't want the board picking the players. You want it to be the manager. But I think when it comes to goalkeepers, with Brendan Rodgers' recent track record, I think I would maybe want him staying away from the goalkeeper. And he was the guy that signed Scott Bain. He signed Doris de Vries. And who was the Leicester goalkeeper he played when he first went in and was fucking horrendous? So Rodgers hasn't really got a great eye for a goalkeeper. That would be my big concern with it.
No, look, I take all them arguments on board, obviously, and you mentioned Peter Thindahal Janssen is that goalkeeper we're linked with. I've seen, but literally again, before we come on there, Gav, that's nearly confirmed. We're going to be signing him for a fee upwards of €4 million. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. We just don't know, but that's the latest rumour about goalkeepers. And what Franny was saying, I found interesting about he'd be raging, paraphrasing, of course, that if we don't the first league game, if we don't have a keeper in situ, he'd be angry at that. I'd be angry if we don't have a first choice goalkeeper in by our American pre-season trip, because I think it's vital to get these jigsaw pieces in place, especially a goalkeeper, to get to know the back four, get to know the team, get to know how we play, and obviously have that confidence to come in and be the leader of that back four like Joe Hart was, be that communication, be focal, be present, and be that kind of tower of strength that Joe Hart was, especially towards the end and that challenging part of the season. We had to claw the league title back. But again, it seems like a scattergun approach. It seems like, as Franny said, the Turkish goalkeepers, 2 out of the 3 they've took the Euros we've been linked with. Dubravka, we've been linked with. Kasper Schmeichel, obviously off the back of him playing with Rodgers before, he's heavily linked with. Peter Janssen, both Danish, and then two Turkish goalkeepers, which is interesting. But where do you stand on this at the moment? And for me, the goalkeeping position should have been sorted out way before this. But if you're letting kind of benefit of the doubt go, are you happy with the situation at this precise moment with the goalkeeping department?
No, I wouldn't say I'm happy with the situation right now. So we would probably all agree that the goalkeeping position is the biggest priority. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the first face to come in has to be a goalkeeper. However, I appreciate that whenever you're building a foundation of a team and with a goalkeeper, communication is massive, and you want to get that understanding, those relationships in as quickly as possible. Doesn't mean that we need to rush it. However, counter argument to that is we've had a long time to know that this is a position that we need to address. So we've had ample time. We've had ample time to look at the targets that we want, the people that would fit that profile. And at the moment, we've not brought somebody in. So no, I'm not happy, but neither am I panicking. I probably will start panicking at a certain date. Like if we go off to America, we're halfway through it. even if we come back from America and we still haven't brought someone in, yeah, I will be panicking. I've got to hold my hands up. The optics don't look great, but optics are optics. It's the media, just creating headlines. The only kind of official business so far that we're aware of is Idah. We're not aware of any official business yet, any official bids put in for goalkeepers, which I'm glad that this has not been a public circus, in the media with us chasing goalkeepers all over the place. There's no reason to believe that we're going for a goalkeeper at the Euros. Like that's what people are talking about. And everybody's fixation is upon the Euros. There's plenty of goalkeepers who are not representing their countries at the Euros. So the world is our oyster in terms of goalkeepers. But let's just hope that whoever we get is the right man.
Who would you take, Gav? Out of the names mentioned, sorry to interrupt, who would you, out of Janssen, Schmeichel, Dubravka, the two Turkish goalkeepers, is there anyone particularly takes your fancy for the goalkeeping position?
I have not put too much stock in the rumours in order to actually research these people. The only people I know about are Dubravka and Schmeichel. I would prefer not to take Schmeichel because after Leicester, I don't quite know why he left Leicester, but after that he went to Nice, did he not, in France, and now he's at another club after that. Yeah, strange that he's hopping from club to club now at this age. Yeah. I'm not, and Dubravka's obviously had some time in the Premiership with Newcastle. I know that he wasn't the number one goalkeeper last season anyway. He's done okay at the Euros, but again, he's 35. I think goalkeeper is probably the one position where you're able to give a bit of leeway in terms of the age. You'd be very alarmed if we're signing like anybody else for like 35 years old in any other position. But for a goalkeeper, there's a wee bit more leeway, a wee bit more consideration to that. Admittedly, though, they're at the end of they've already had their peak, and now they're kind of at the tail end of their career. It worked out well with Hart. Doesn't always mean that you should, just because it worked well with Hart, that you need to go for another goalkeeper at that kind of age range, and just because it's kind of more economical. So I think in terms of the targets that you've listed, I don't know much about them. I wouldn't be jumping to go for Schmeichel. That's one name that I wouldn't be overly eager upon. I think he's still half decent, but I think we want to buy a keeper who we're going to at least get 2 years, hopefully 3 or 4, depending on his success and his age range and his saleability if he gets better. But I would like to buy a keeper who we know we're going to get for at least 2+ years. So at the moment, I'm not panicking, but I could be panicking soon.
That Georgia goalkeeper really impressed me. Don't ask me to attempt his name, but he looked incredible the games I watched him play. He was saving everything left, right, and centre. I think he actually faced the most shots in the European Championship so far. And when I looked him up, I was quietly confident he would be playing for some mid-table, I don't know, German club or no, he's a Valencia number 1. And I was like, nope, we're not getting him. So, that's never happened. But the Maestro, the Georgian goalkeeper, is at Valencia, has a 40 million buyout clause. His raises are like 200 grand a week. So that's a pie in the sky. Paul McFarland by DeSanta, she's a keeper, 100%. And I think as well, Glasgow Rebel comes in. Franny, the thing that scares me the most is not rumour of a left back. Now, what I was kind of talking about last time we were on, which was last Monday with McGinty, and I think it was yourself as well, was Matthew Anderson had a really good season at that Austrian feeder club that we have. I'm not even going to say the names. Every time I do, I get slagged off the chat for it. But he was in the team of the year for the second division of Austria, goal contributions and stuff. So maybe, just maybe, that Rodgers is holding out for him and Taylor to fight for that position. Albeit, I do agree we need to improve that as well. But one thing I wanted to ask is, both before we move on, I'll start with you, Franny, first. Every club in the SPFL has signed players, or a player. Does that look bad on us, or do you think that it is Rodgers holding out, like you said at the start of the podcast, for the quality that he wants and not necessarily taking the names that are given to him or the scouting reports that are sent to him? He's kind of going off his own kind of fruition here. He wants to see who it is. He wants the top quality players that we can afford. And that's the reason people say delay or hold up. I don't know what it is, but we've not made any significant moves. And like Gav said, the only concrete bit of news we got was from Sky Sports today telling us what we already knew, that we were in for Alameda. So is it a concern that there's not been kind of major movement? Because for me, this summer anyway is going to be partly a rebuild. I think there's going to be a lot of outgoings. There should be a lot of incomings to replace them outgoings, and also the quality of the squad. So I was hoping we would see some, but we haven't yet. Where do you stand?
I'm still fairly content, Stephen. Obviously, you touched on it earlier. You like a rumour. It's always good to have ones that are a wee bit more concrete than others that we can get excited about, talk about for it never happening things. And I suppose what you could then argue is the fact that apart from the countless amount of keepers that kind of getting chucked about, you could argue that maybe we're quietly doing our business in the background. Call me naive. I mean, plenty probably will me saying that maybe they're quietly just doing their business in the background and just getting all their ducks aligned. I'm not so sure it's as much a rebuild. I do think there's a lot of deadwood that we need to get rid of. I think that you could probably rhyme off about 10 players that you could get rid of without really batting an eyelid, really. Obviously, Haksa is away. I'd have included him in that. But it's not hearing rumours is not concerning me about thinking, like, whatever you think about the board and things like that. I cast for that one. Whatever you think about the board and all that, and a lot of it's very, very valid. They're no idiots. They do know what they're doing. They're not going to sit there and just expect to get away with it and just penny pinch again and give Rodgers a summer like he did last season. I don't know if maybe Ange would have done, probably Ange could have done it. Don't think there's many managers that would have won that league for Celtic last season with the players that were offered up to him. So my only hope is the reason we're not doing business, as I say, we've never done business this early in previous seasons gone by. So I can only just hope that the player, because Rodgers kept on mentioning he wants quality. Maybe it's just that quality player he wants, Celtic won't be their only option. And I know folk might look back at last season and I said the exact same thing, that Celtic, if we're going for the type of player that we want, we hope to be going for, Celtic won't be their only option. And maybe other teams, like across the city, Rangers, the players probably had other options, but Rangers was their best offer. I'm just hoping Celtic, as hard as it might sound, it might not necessarily be, from a financial point of view anyway, a lot of these players' best offer. Footballing, again, maybe not be their best offer. But we maybe have that carrot of the Champions League to say, look, well, he's getting Champions League football, you're not getting that where you go elsewhere. So I think, as I say, call me naive, that's where I'm always, Stephen, just hoping that it's these, we've got to convince these are players that we are the best option for them.
Look, again, I get that 100%. Monty said something about talking piss friendly. We're in the new format, Champions League 8 games minimum. So I think he means about the option thing. And look,
we've got the option to offer them Champions League football.
I'm not naive enough to think, Gavin, that Sevco are obviously trying to kickstart the player recruitment model, buy low, sell high. That's why they signed 5 or 6 players for minimal fees. But like me, among Celtic fans, and maybe many Celtic fans don't speak for anyone but myself, but you look at that and think, right, okay, they're making moves. Why can we not make moves? And Franny is right in a way, our board, for all the shit they get, and rightly so. They're not stupid in a business sense, but then again, they do hold us back. You mentioned McGinn, you mentioned Fletcher for a few $100,000. Them deals were at the time. We missed out on them. Putting that to one side, I mean, Monty said we don't want rumours, we want signings. Is that the way you're thinking this summer? No point having paper talk without no kind of fire to it. Just let that go by, do our business quietly, and bring these players in under the radar.
I'd be more than content to get results at the end of the summer, results in terms of like quality of business, rather than feast upon a diet of transfer rumours. And by the way, can I just remark on Franny's fruity-looking water bottle that he showed to the camera? Can I see that again? Very nice, very nice. So,
Thanks, I'm very top.
look, to be honest, like, you know, we are sometimes the proverbial angry mob, and we want to hear, you know, interesting rumours. You know, good players. We want to see links to good players, and we want to get excited by that. And that's just the nature of being a football fan. But the most important thing is that whenever we kick off the season, we've done quality business. And again, whenever I say quality, people might say I'm being naive, because that's what Brendan Rodgers spoke about last season. We never got it last season, and we're going to get it this season. Hopefully we will, because we've made changes with the hierarchy in the scouting department. So we've got new people who are going to be making decisions. I don't actually know who has replaced Mark Lawwell. Maybe somebody could tell us about that.
Franley. That's all I know. Franley's probably replaced him. No one has a clue.
I've probably got the same qualifications as him.
The most important thing is that whatever we can go through a summer of like no proper rumours, you know, nothing really to whet the appetite. I can deal with that. It's just whenever the first game starts, we need to have the quality in by then. If not, then yeah, protests will happen, fans will vent, because it happened last season. It can't happen again for another season. So that's the main thing. We get the quality in whenever the football starts.
Yeah, I think one of the major
Stephen, as well, because I've obviously noticed folk mentioned.
Of course you can. Of course you can, Franny.
Like,
you take your time. Go ahead.
So you obviously mentioned how Rangers have signed 4 or 5 boys, and they're all young. And folk have mentioned in the comments saying, "Oh, Rangers have bought these players and stuff, and we've not. It's embarrassing." These same folk would probably be moaning that we're signing more project players. So we can't have it both ways. You can't moan at Rangers are signing young guys at 21, 22. Then if we done it, you'd be going, why are we signing more project players?
Yeah, look, I get that, but I think we're assuming. We're trying to come up with an idea of to why we haven't signed anybody. That's one of the many things to be like, is it because we're holding off for quality? I mean, we were like with a Costa Rican, I think it was Andy Rojas, again, butchering the name, 18 years old. Played in the Copa America, a wonder kid, and he's worth €1 million apparently from his Costa Rican club. So we don't know, but again, I think this again really annoys me, because fans, supporters are allowed to criticise and they're allowed to vent their frustration, right? So, like what Gav said, 100%. But like what Gav said there, if we come to a certain time frame of having signed this player or that player to replace a position, and rightly so. I mean, the figures of the bank are there for all to see. We're cash rich. We're in a great financial position. We are in the Champions League for 8 games, which is a major card for if you're a young player or an experienced pro coming towards the end who wants that kind of final push. Not like 34, 35, I mean 29, 30, 31, that kind of age bracket. So we should be a good fit for some players. So I understand the argument where it takes time and it takes time to get these deals done. But I don't like the argument when a fan or fans question what's going on, that you get thrown at, like we're, I don't know, making an issue out of nothing. We trust the club, trust the process. We're doing the right things behind the scenes. None of us know that, so it's all speculation at this moment in time. Which is why I think you see maybe people having to go at each other or saying this should be done or that should be done. At the end of the day, we all want what's best for the club that we support and love, which is Celtic. I want us to go out and sign a £20 million player. But I know in my heart that's never going to happen. So it's like, well, it's. You have to take the rough with the smooth. But basically, what I'm trying to say is we're all looking for the same thing. We want Celtic to sign quality players, and as I said, look, I know that Sevco are signing these guys, but like you said, Franny, that they are project players, and they're really trying that to kickstart that kind of model that they want to copy off us and other things where you buy low and sell high. And look, that's our own prerogative. Leave them to it. So I mean, they've got no steel on their ground. They can't even play at home for the first 6 months. So. Fucking. But one player that said goodbye, Galvin, was Haksa. What I found quite interesting was ties in with what we were speaking about, and Rodgers maybe digging his heels in and holding off for his signings. He came out in one of his interviews when he first joined his new club, Malmo. He said that the Celtic board oddly wanted to keep him around, but Rodgers was the one who said, no, you have to go. I mean, that gave me confidence to say, Rodgers is actually calling the shots in some sort of way, some capacity, and players he wants in the club at that moment in time. Haksa wasn't one of them. I mean, he looked good in parts. He went to Stoke, got player of the month, November, I think, when he was there. Started off really well and obviously faded to shite. And he's joined the Swedish club Malmo. That was interesting to me because it did show me that Rodgers was kind of wielding the axe and he was saying, I want you out.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm glad with the outcome. I don't think he was ever a Celtic player. So I'm happy that he's gone. In terms of what he said in his interview, I don't know if I want to believe it or not. So say it's true that he left because Brendan Rodgers wanted him to leave. However, the Celtic board wanted him to stay. So if that's true, who's telling him that? Is it his agent who's telling him that? Is it to placate him, to massage his ego? Or does he actually have direct contact with the board, which is slightly bewildering? And if the board did have their own opinion about it, why would they be, going against Brendan Rodgers' back to actually make that known through directly to him or through directly to his agent? I find that a little bit strange. But if it is true, and Brendan Rodgers has stood up and said no, he might represent good value, because I think we got him for a cut price deal because of the events that happened in Ukraine, Russia, and because of what that happened to his value. We caught him for a half decent deal because I think prior to that he was bought by Ruben Kazan for $6 million, I think. So maybe the board saw some financial value to holding on for him and maybe playing him for a bit to raise his value and then getting a better fee. Maybe that's the case. And the fact that Brendan Rodgers has stood up and says, no, I'm calling the shots in terms of player recruitment, and we need to get rid of this guy because he doesn't enhance the squad. If that's the case, I'm glad that Brendan Rodgers has stood up and he's got the authority to do that. I would hate for him to be undermined in that way and for him to stay as part of the squad because he has some sort of commercial value. But I find it difficult to believe. Just personally, I think that his agent might just be blowing smoke up his arse and saying, the club really want you, but it's just that evil Brendan who wants to get rid of you. I don't believe it for a second. I'm glad that he's gone. He looked like a maverick who flattered to deceive. And I've got a real problem with Celtic buying wingers who have no pace. And we might talk about Palma later on. But Haksa never had the heart. He never had the dig. And I don't think he set the head on fire at Stoke. So best wishes to him wherever he goes. But he's not Celtic quality, and we need quality moving forward, especially for the wings. So, but if Rodgers is calling the shots, good for him. It's about fucking time.
100%. And Franny, like what Gav said there, he was one of the wingers we needed off the books. He did show in fits and starts his quality. He was good at cutting in, hitting a powerful shot here and there, and he went on loan, did well the first couple of months. But like Gav, I think it was just time to call an end to his career. Celtic probably had to take a hit on the pay we received, but that's football, that's business. As I said, we're cash rich at the moment, so any added millions to the bank's just a bonus at this moment in time because of how much we actually have in the bank. But again, the comments were interesting. If it was lost in translation, we don't know this. If he was just making it up, we don't know this. He was very fond of an Instagram post and things of that nature. His Instagram post when he confirmed he was leaving was like, I love this fucking club, and wasn't time for me to leave, and kind of obviously paraphrasing the game, but that was along the lines of it. Weird kind of guy. Never really got him in a Celtic shirt. I'm glad he's gone. What about yourself?
I mean, I'm not bothered that he's away. I think it was one that he had to go when he's 24, 25. I think had been here for a season. Rodgers kind of just shipped him out straight away in loan. So I think the writing was on the wall that Rodgers did not fancy him. So it's one that if the rumours are true that that what he's saying anyway, that Rodgers wanted him out, or want him out, that didn't want to keep him, if you like, then I think you've got to kind of have a wee bit of confidence here and say, well, Rodgers is calling the shots. That's what Rodgers wants. Guys, right? He's said for ages it's a bloated squad we've got. I said it earlier, I think there's probably 10 guys we could rhyme off that I don't think the team would be technically any weaker. Obviously, you would need to be bringing guys in, but I think there's about 10 bodies easily you need to get out the door just to decrease the squad size more than anything. But Haksa, clearly there's a talented player in there. I think he was at West Ham as well early in his career. Obviously went to Kazan for decent money. But he's obviously he's never really managed to nail down. I mean, I don't know how many games he played for Kazan, so I could be, I'm not going to, since he never nailed down a proper place down there, but he never managed to kind of cement his place at Celtic. I think Gav's right. I don't think I think he was pulling trees up down at Stoke, and then obviously he's went to the Giants of Malmo. So I think it's more about him than anything. I mean, as I say, clearly a talented player there, but he's just never really. I think that sums up. He's got the skill, but that just sums it up brilliant for me. I think he's not got the heart. Gav said that as well. He's not got the heart, not got the dig, and he's not got pace. And Willie will be a wee bit happier because he's not fond of these like number 9s being wingers and things like that. He's a bit of traditionalist where he wants number 2 at right back, number 3 at left back, number 9's a striker.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think we're all of the opinion. Like you said, Franny, there's a lot of dead wood that needs to be trimmed from the squad, but we can talk about that as it happens. And I do want to ask you one thing. Paul McFarlane put in the chat, and I'll put it to both of you. Anything to say about this Celtic survey? I haven't bothered to do it. I think it's just a waste of time, in my opinion. But
I don't know. I mean, what I would say is we have asked for a bit of engagement. That gave us that. Where they go with it.
What was in it? Like, what's the criteria? What's the question?
It seems kind of sort of tailored to maybe give you an idea of what they're looking at potentially doing. They ask for your experience and what you would do to make it better in and around the stadium. Have you got any ideas and stuff like that? So it's one of the ones we can't moan that they didn't sort of engage with and then moan when they do. As much as I'm not necessarily a board sympathiser or anything like that, but I just feel like some folk like to moan regardless of what they do. The survey is the survey. What comes out, we'll never know because how will we?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
There were other questions about the digital interaction that you have with Celtic.
Would you
like a Celtic app? What sort of features would you like on that?
That type of stuff.
One of the questions that they asked about your match day experience, well, I just kept on saying Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is terrible. So I don't know why they can't improve upon the Wi-Fi. They're talking about like using your phone to display your ticket and stuff like that. If they're talking about using that online interaction, and bloody well improve the Wi-Fi. There was other questions regarding the standing section. Would you be willing to relocate? Would you like to stand in a standing section? And I kind of answered yes to that, even though where I am, I'm really happy with where I am. I wouldn't want personally to move from where I am in the main stand, but I answered to the affirmative about moving just because I wanted to create the illusion of fans being up for a larger standing section. I think that would enhance the atmosphere, and I think that is something that we're kind of lacking on because we do depend on the 2 choirs at either side of the stadium, and the rest of the fans kind of look towards them to kind of to start things off. So I think it would be good if we're able to enhance the to increase the standing section. Other thing though is in the Jock Scene stand they've got the corporate hospitality bit, so they would have to sacrifice that money maker if they were going to put standing sections there. That might not be the plan, but I think it'd be good to see the club make moves towards the standing section. I think that's the way forward. But again, in terms of Franny's summation of it, like it might just be all about optics, like the illusion of interacting with fans. Will they actually take any feedback on board? Who knows? They've probably already decided where they're going to go.
What Boys on tour? They should put a survey out on who we would like to sign, and that would be interesting. I mean, for me, it's like, do you ever get when you're working to get them employment surveys, and they're all like fill it out, and nothing ever happens from it. So it's just bullshit. It's for HR to say we done this, nothing's going to change. But just a quick one. Did they mention increasing capacity and anywhere or
No.
no? Okay,
No.
that would have been interesting to see if that was happening. Obviously, the main
there was a
stand.
question where, like, would you improve about the match day or like the sort of a stadium? So I suppose you could have filtered that and said maybe expand it and things like that. So there's wee bits where you could maybe sort of interpret it how you wanted it to get your point across, I feel like.
Yeah.
Make the board watch from inside the stadium. Don't let them outside. Don't let them under seats. But look, Gav, taking away from the survey, you mentioned him earlier. Palma has come out and said that he needs to recapture the form that he's shown in his early part in his Celtic career. I think he's on international duty with Honduras. Said he recognised that he wasn't good enough coming towards the end of the season, even though he scored in the final day. But he wasn't. His impact did kind of peel off, and what he was doing when he first came in, he was hitting shots from distance. He looked sharper. He looked a bit quicker then, but he just kind of slowed down and was cutting in all the time. Was very readable. Was telegraphing his passes. He wasn't exuberant of what we kind of expected from him at the start of his career. You mentioned the winger with no pace. If I was in charge, and look, I'm not being harsh, Palma would be one of the first names I would out the door. In my opinion, I don't think he's good enough for Celtic in a roundabout way. Obviously, when I'm talking about that headline, I have to be impartial and say he was saying and caveat it with what actually happened during the season. But if you want my personal opinion on it, I don't think he's quite good enough. As I said, I think he telegraphs an awful lot of his movements. One time out of 20, maybe gets a free ball like he done to O'Reilly at Tynecastle. He gets that fantastically well. But then again, the other 19 times it fails. His impact on the overall team, I think his tracking back's horrendous. I don't think he can last 90 minutes. I don't think he's fit enough. And I just don't think he's good enough. I think this was the big issue we had with the summer recruitment. Wingers with pace is what we need, especially for a Rodgers team. So, I mean, it spoke volumes that we called James Forrest back in for the last 2 or 3 months of the season. We had Mieta back in. Palma didn't really get a look in. Yang was getting in ahead of him, even though he was in different spells in the Celtic shirt. But at least he's got pace and he's directing in a roundabout way. But Palma for me would be out the door. No, James would hate me for saying this, but he's like he isn't good enough. He's not.
Mate, it's really difficult to actually talk what you've just said. You've really encapsulated a lot of what I feel. I was kind of excited about Palma to start off with in his Celtic career. Whenever I saw what he could do with a ball, but quite quickly I became aware of his lack of pace, and I think I was quite vocal about that. I think at the very end of the season, whenever he was out in the cold, Brendan Rodgers was starting to get the team playing roughly to where he wanted it to, and the standards started going up. I think he recognised at that point near the tail end of the season, I think he recognised where he needs to be, and there was a couple of glimpses when he came on as a sub that he was trying to harry, trying to press, trying to do what he could, tempo-wise at least. I saw glimpses of that, but in terms of his quality on the ball, and that's the confusing thing, the quality on the ball. He looks, whenever he's concentrating, whenever he's on form, that he can do a lot with that football, but there was times where you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, there'd be like corners when he'd be hitting the first man, free kicks where he'd be hitting the wall, and you're like, this is meant to be your forte. You're meant to be able to do better than that. And I'm like, what's going on with this guy? And by the way, whenever I talk about wingers with no pace, there are exceptions to the rule. Like John Robertson for Nottingham Forest, Mark O'Neill's teammate. He was amazing, a 2-footed winger. And Brian Clough used to call him a fat little winger, fat little Scottish winger. That's what I called him. But he managed to beat the best in Europe whenever Nottingham Forest won their European Cups. So you can be a very good winger without much pace. But you need to be very good at other things. And Palma, no, he's just not delivering. He's not delivering. But I think from the financial outlay, it might be difficult to ship him out this summer. I am prepared to see him again in the hoops next season. But we need to make space with other people. But I agree with you. What you said about Palma was a really good summary of his deficiencies. There is a talent there, like we said with Haksa, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out for him. And some people say give the guy time, give him more chances. Sometimes it's wise enough to when the writing is on the wall with a player. So I think, in summary, I think he's going to be with us because it might be too difficult to ship him out. But I agree with you. I don't think he's Celtic quality. And that's it.
I wonder does Malmo have any extra money lying about? They can take Palma as well. Does take him 500k for any, but I think Gav's right. We're talking about summaries there. The financial outlay, again, I think for me that it will be hard to get him out of the club unless it's a loan deal with an option to buy and he can press it the new club and hopefully they take up that option with the fee agreed. But he has shown it again in fits and starts. I think overall nearly 19 goal contributions, assists, 8 goals and however many assists. It sounds good and it sounds like we're slating a player who actually has good stats. But on the eye, that eye test that we're talking about is he's not quick enough. He's not mobile. The work ethic isn't there. I think he gives up too quickly when he loses the ball. He has a wee strap. He's just everything that I don't like in a player, and I've never took to him, and I don't think I ever will. And look, it's unfortunate, but that's just my opinion. I think Gav was kind of summed up as well that if you can get him out, I don't know where you stand on it.
One other thing, Franny, do you think we're cost? Do you think we're cost with South Americans?
I mean, that's maybe a fair argument. I'm just trying to think if we've actually. I mean, Izagiri is probably the only one right now, but we've not had tons, but we've had a few. We've obviously had I'm trying to think. So the famous one's Raphael Scheidt, which was terrible. Juninho probably just didn't hit the heights of what you thought Juninho should hit. But certainly lately, I mean, Bernabe, Jesus, all I said about him, the better.
First choice by Christmas, Franny.
Aye, not fucking Christmas, but he can't even get his name first choice. His name first choice at the team is on loan at.
He's on the bench.
He's on a beach, I think. But we could very well be cursed with South Americans, Gavin. Because I think that's the Palma for me is why stats sometimes hide a lot. Like stats can make a lot of folk look really good. Palma being a perfect case for that. Like again, I think he's got a really good right foot. But like Gav said, he came in with this reputation of being a set piece specialist. I don't think he scored one free kick for us. Struggle to remember many good corners he hit. That, like I've said, they either hit the first man or went they were miles high.
He tried to shoot. Weird. He tried to shoot, and it used to infuriates me.
I say, like round about the 20 goal contribution mark, is a good return for a debut season. He had good stats over in Greece as well. The Greek league before he came into us. So there is a talent there, but I don't know what it's just very, very frustrating. I find him a very frustrating footballer. It's almost like I'm like, I know you've got it in you. Go and shows it. You do show it in times. Just go and just do it more consistent. But I think his work off the ball isn't great at times. I think it did show up maybe lately, and maybe he's obviously talks cheap with his Instagram posts saying he's working hard and things like that. But I think there was at times last season he maybe quite wasn't showing the heart that was needed, maybe just wasn't quite grasping what it is to be at Celtic. He's one that I'm not saying sell the guy. If we had to sell him, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I honestly wouldn't bat an eyelid if we sold Palma. But I don't see him getting sold, because I just think it's when you start, as much as with that, for me we need 5-6 players. If you start selling Palma and guys like that, as much as I don't think he's the guy that's going to take us to the next level, I think he's a good squad player to have there. I wouldn't be desperate to get rid of him just to try and more focus on getting first team ready players in, and guys like your Palma can supplement them if and when needed, whether that be from the bench or just filling in game here and there and stuff. But Palma for me, stats are great. Performances, eye test, like you said, Stephen, sometimes just tell you how the true ability of the player. I find them very frustrating.
Yeah, I don't
kind
think
of
that
went
could
like
be
this
argued.
with Palma throughout the season. I was way up here at the start, then it just started seeing it with.
And see, to be fair, I know I don't like harping back to when I was right. I remember when we signed him 2 to 3 weeks in, I was saying that he wasn't good enough. And look at us now, a year on in the summer talking about it. So sometimes I do get things right, and I'll take that one on the chest because I deserve it. No, I'm joking. But I mean, we'll move on, and we were talking about departures and Deadwood that could be leaving the club. Gavin, and some of them include first team stars and youngsters. I want to start with Rocco Vada. Fabrizio came out today. He's agreed a 4-year contract worth 25 grand a week at Watford. We're going to get a low fee of 237 grand to cover the compensation fee. So again, we've lost out on a potential fee there on Rocco Vada. But I am so glad this is coming to an end. All this for a fella who's barely kicked the ball, hasn't done anything really in the Celtic shirt. Look, I know I'm big for youth getting the chance, but I think this hype and this holding out for this and holding out for that is him possibly getting above his station. Maybe Roger just went, this is the best we can offer you as a club. I think I've seen the rumour of 10 grand a week, which is still a really hefty chunk of change per week for a youngster and someone with potential. And some first team players don't even get that at the moment at Celtic. So again, it was a good offer. But Watford's come in, they've offered 25k. This shows you the power of the English market. You look at Ipswich, they've spent £22 million on someone called Omari Hutchison from Chelsea. They're putting together a bid for 30 million for 2 players from Hull. And it just shows you the financial muscle that they do have over clubs, and including themselves at this moment in time, which is disgusting in terms of the money involved in English football. The sooner that collapses, the better. But Rocco Vada, the transfer saga, the youngster, the guy with all the hype, he's going to move on. I'm glad it's done. And maybe one will come back to years and say, yeah, we'll let him go too soon. But we can't compete with 25k a week for someone who hasn't done nothing in a Celtic shirt.
I'm actually surprised that he's even on the radar of Fabrizio Romano. People say that he's got a bad attitude, holding out for a contract at Celtic. I don't know too much about the boy's attitude, but I would hazard a guess that his quality is not good enough for Celtic. He's been skulking around at Lennoxtown for long enough. If he's good enough playing or training, if he's good enough training with the first team, then he would have got more appearances. So I don't think he's good enough. I am not bothered at all that he's gone. It's probably a good thing because of the amount of speculation. So he can go down to Watford and ply his trade, try and forge a career for himself outside the Goldfish Bowl of Glasgow, and hopefully he does well. I really do hope he does well. But I think it was clear that he probably wasn't going to be a regular at Celtic. It's also quite sad, a sad indictment of the lack of quality that we've got coming through, that he was the poster boy for the next best talent, where in actual fact they probably didn't have that much talent to make the breakthrough at Celtic. Really quite sad. And if you think about how football clubs were run decades ago, people on the periphery at that age, they would have been making games. They would have been getting on the bench, making games for Celtic. At that age, you would have known if your future was going to be with the club or not, and because that's how clubs operated. Apart from obviously buying in players, you would heavily lean upon your reserves. And the way that things are going right now, we've got people who are hanging about at the academy, hanging about at Lennoxtown for far too long. Before they eventually say, right, I better fuck off and join a club and try and start an honest career as a footballer, because it's not happening at Celtic. Happens too often. We've got young players in their early 20s still hanging about. Don't like that. So I think it's good that he's gone. I'm really not. I don't think it's a loss, and I'm not bothered about any financial loss that we've made in the guy. Even whenever we're talking about Palma, I'd be happy to sell Palma for under the value of what we bought him for, because we've got the money. Having money in the bank really is pointless for us right now, because we're not exercising that financial muscle. We can take a hit in these guys. We need to get our act together with the squad. We need to get the right people into our squad. Brendan likes not too high a number, for his squad. We need to get the right amount of people in, the right faces, the right attitudes. I don't think he was one of the guys. So I don't think it's a big loss. However, I do think it's unfortunate about the lack of talent coming through, that he was meant to be the poster boy.
Yeah, I think the next one in line, saying what you're saying there, Gavin, the lack of talent, was Daniel Kelly, the midfielder. I know we're in negotiations for a contract with him, but again, he's linked with Bayer Leverkusen, so we'll see where that takes us over the summer. But probably kind of dovetailing on what Gavin said there, look, we haven't really seen too much of Rocco Fata. I've seen clips of him scoring for the Irish under-21s team, because on Twitter and things like that, he looked decent. I think he got a goal for us as well. A couple of cameo appearances. He looks athletic. He looks tall and quick, which is a poster or hallmark, of a Brendan Rodgers type player. But just unfortunately, some of these things end like this. And again, we've done cross compensation fees for likes of Moussa Dembele, Joe Ledley before, so we're pretty well versed on how these sorts of deals work. And we're losing out in the Rocco Fata, the Watford, for 237k. And yeah, I agree with Gavin. I'm big on youth. And then you look at, we're going to come on to the Euros as kind of the end of the podcast, but again, different spectrums here. But you look at the quality Spain have. Yamal, 16 years old on the right hand side. Inaki Williams, 20 years old. Pedri, Gavi. It's littered with talent, and it's a podcast for another day. But we really do need to improve the coaching setup in the youth academy. But Rocco Fata, I'm funny. You happy he's gone, or are you just not bothered?
I bet of both, Stephen. It was one. I'm probably verging more on the side. I'm glad he's got it. It was almost turning into the Islam Farouz all over again, where Farouz was this absolute superstar, and the guy sells hats now, and he's about 25-year-old. So,
does he actually sell hats right now?
I'm sure that's what he does now, mate. He's got his own hat line. So that tells you. I mean, he probably went and made a good bit of coin down at Chelsea. Fair enough. This guy's well within his right to do that. He owed Celtic nothing. I know, obviously, it's maybe a bit of a touchy subject considering news. Obviously, it was Tommy Burns that brought him in, and maybe folk felt he owed Celtic something. But footballers will tell you it's a short career, so you've got to try and make the most of it. And like I say, the rumours are that Celtic apparently offered Pat 10 million. Which is good money for a 19-year-old.
10,000.
What did I say? 10 million?
Yeah.
10,000, and then Watford's apparently offered him 25. It's got to be hard for a lad to say, I'll stay at Celtic where I'm not getting a chance here. I mean, I don't wish him bad. I hope he goes and makes a career again. But doesn't, I couldn't care less. I'm not going to come down 5-6 years in the line where, if he's not made a career and go, well, we're right to do it. But equally, I'm not going to say we sold him too early if it goes and turns into this great player, because it's just, he's never really broke into the team. Last season, obviously, he had the game against Buckfast Thistle, Stephen. And he got he got a goal there, but he never really kicked on for that.
That bypassed me. That bypassed me. I get it now. Okay. Yeah. Good one.
And then he went. He's obviously scored plenty of goals at under 21 level, both internationally and at Celtic. And it just feels like, and maybe Gav was right. Obviously, he was maybe put in a position of being the poster boy coming through the next youth talent. It just felt like a lot of Celtic fans put him on this pedestal of absolutely zero evidence to actually be up there. It seemed to be elevated to this stature with nothing to back up with, and any time he got in and around the team, never backed it up. Mitchell Frame seems to be another one that's he's had a 30-minute cameo against Bayern. Who did they come against?
Was it Leverkusen?
Bayer Leverkusen. He came on for 30 minutes and folk have elevated him to some sort of level. Exactly. Of 30 minutes of football, some folk have got Mitchell Frame as a superstar. Like the next superstar. It's just, I didn't want us falling into trappy like what English folk do, and it's just a guy has a good wee game and next minute he's a superstar. By Rocco Vata, I'm neither here nor there. I'm probably more on the side that I'm glad he's gone, because as I say, it just seemed to be fire or 30 minutes against Ferdinand, and the amount of Celtic fans on Twitter and other podcasts you hear saying he's a top player, and it's like, go and just be honest and say you didn't watch the laddie's football. It's all right to admit that you didn't pay attention to the under 21 squad and that. But Rocco Vata, don't wish him any badness on him, but I'm glad he's away, because it was just one of them. When it was a superstar thing based off nothing.
100%, finally, and we agree finally for once since the Barclays scenario. But Gav, one player that is held up on a pedestal, and rightly so, Matt O'Reilly. I think there was pictures going around of him playing in Mumbai, much like Jota did in New York, but playing football 5-a-side with locals, which is fantastic to see. Great humble character. But he's been linked with various different clubs. I think the most recent one, Southampton, at 20 million. Apparently now, there was a bid last week and Celtic rejected the 20 million. We're looking upwards of 30 million up front for Matt O'Reilly. Brighton are involved. Atlanta in Serie A are looking at him as well. Inter Milan have expressed interest. Atletico Madrid from January. I think for me anyway, we're talking about certainties. I think it's more or less guaranteed that Matt O'Reilly will be away from Celtic before the end of this summer transfer window. We spoke about Wilfred Ndidi coming in being that number 6, so there'll be a big hole in the squad when Matt O'Reilly leaves to replace that quality. But what type of fee would you be looking for him? Do you think that the Celtic board are right to hold out for that 30 million up front? Obviously, that's rumours, but going by what we're seeing and the bids that have been rejected so far and the advances of other clubs, that seems to be the fee that Celtic are holding out for to break that record that Tierney set going to Arsenal all them years ago. And then also, how hard will it be for us to replace a player of Matt O'Reilly's quality?
In terms of the price, so Tierney went away for 25. I'm trying to remember how many years. Was that about 4 years ago that Tierney left us? So I guess
5 or 6, isn't it?
It's been a wee while.
Perhaps. So if you factor in inflation, then 30 probably sounds about right. I'm not going to be if he goes for 25, I'm not going to be heartbroken. It's still really good money. Like, bear in mind, but we sold Jota last season for 25. So if we can get 30, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm not too fussed about the fee. As long as it's 25 or over, then yeah, that's gravy. It'll be really, really difficult to replace Matt O'Reilly. The way that he came on leaps and bounds in his 2.5 years. So I think we brought him in January in Postecoglou's first season, and although he always made appearances under Postecoglou, it wasn't always a starter. And then he get put out on the bench for a bit whenever Moy was playing, and he had a real evolution in education. Whenever Cal McGregor went out with his facial injury and O'Reilly had to play as number 6, and he learned a lot. He's really added a lot to his game. The one thing that he doesn't have is natural pace. He's not blessed with that. But there's been a lot of great centre midfielders who doesn't have that. He's got so many gifts to his game: his vision, his passing, is the way that he's able to operate in pressure situations, and mentality-wise, he's a superstar. He doesn't go overawed by the occasion. And whenever you talked about him away in India, I think it was with his, I'm trying to think of a better word for this, but his spiritual guru or something like that. He's got.
Right, okay.
I've heard him talk about this guy before.
He was away pictured with a guy. One of the pictures looked a wee bit sketchy, but I think he's obviously good friends with the guy, and he's learned a lot about meditation, and he's brought that sort of kind of side into that psychology into his game as well. And whatever helps, you should do. So I think he's that very level-headed guy. I think I'm waffling at this point, Stephen. So I guess the question was, what was the price? I've said that. And will it be hard to replace him? It'll be very, very hard to replace him. We talk about project signings. Franny alluded to it earlier on. And every now and again, you're going to come across a really good one. And Matt O'Reilly represented that diamond in the rough. It's going to be difficult to replicate that again. But let's hope whenever we get the money for him, we try to reinvest it in the squad as best as possible. But in terms of that void in the midfield, it's going to be difficult to replace.
Totally agree. And you said that they reinvest that money. Gavin Plums McNugget came in Franny and said, not a penny less than 30 million. To find a replacement at 2 million, it'll be difficult. So that's the kind of
There's
hopes and
almost an element of
expectations.
truth to it, the way
Yeah,
history
it's
goes, an element of truth to it.
100%. And you mentioned Gav about his pace. There's one player in the Euros I've been really impressed with for Spain, Fabian Ruiz. He's not quick, but to see the way he reads the game and how he plays the ball and finds space, he operates on a different level. Matt O'Reilly looks similar in terms of what he can maybe achieve in his career when he reaches his peak and with whatever club he's at that time. But I mean, this will rumble on, Franny, until a club comes in. Southampton seem to steal all our players, and then they eventually end up at Liverpool further down the line. So you don't know if this is a chain of succession. You go to Southampton first to see how you get on. But we can't be lowball for this. Matt O'Reilly is a fantastic player, and his returns last season in terms of goal contributions, assists, and goals, and his all-round play, like Gav said, when he went into that number 6 role. I remember me and Willie doing a podcast before. I think it was one of the first European games. And we're going, who we're going to play in the number 6 position? It can't be O'Reilly. It can't be O'Reilly. But seeing he was in it, he was all action. He was tackling. Like Gav said, Cal Mack didn't have that natural defensive ability, but Matt O'Reilly was doing slide tackles, nicking the ball off people's toes, starting off attacks, and he looked really comfortable in that position. And I do agree that he's added multiple tools to his belt, but losing him will be a huge miss. But in terms of the fee, where do you stand on that, and what would you like to see come in after that's happened?
I mean, the fee, a bit like Gavin, in a way, the fee's the fee, because, I mean, history will tell you we'll not spend it, so it's really, to an extent, does it matter how much if it's 10 million? I mean, obviously it's not going to.
What would you take? What I'm basically saying is, what would you take? Like, what would be like?
I think we should be looking at market value like 30 plus. That's what I'd be looking at, because it seems to be like 25 million seems to be the magic. It seems to be this magic number for Kieran Tierney, where I think we should have pushed the boat out a wee bit to try and get more for Kieran Tierney. But unfortunately, I think really only Arsenal were ever really properly interested. The Jota one again, that came out of nowhere, but it feels like 25 million was chucked out there and we just accepted the first offer. I mean, all the places to never accept the first offer would probably be Saudi Arabia. I think he'll got a bit more money for a serious bit more money for Jota. But again, folk will then go back to it, then what does it really matter? Because the club didn't spend it. So what's the point in him? What's the difference in him 40 million in the bank and 60 million in the bank if you didn't spend in it? So it's one of it. But I think if you really want to try and, you can't, for me to progress a wee bit, you can't have a ceiling on players in the sense that 25 million is good for a Scottish team. Just try and push the boat out, go and get a wee bit more. But on the flip of that, if we want to get proper top dollar, what we think for a player like Matt O'Reilly, if we're thinking 30 plus million gets you in the table, then goes back to like a way back to the start of the podcast when we're talking about Idah. We can't then scoff at teams when they ask for top dollar for their players. If we want top dollar for ours, swings and roundabouts here. We can't as a fan base go, we should be getting this for Matt O'Reilly. You should be asking, dig your heels in, get proper money, proper value your players, but then have a wee moan when teams value their players, and we're not happy with that. So the fee for me, as I say, I think we should be looking 30 plus, but I think you make it 25. I think you'll get, it seems to be 25 and all you'll get a player.
Yeah. No, I agree. And one of the players we were linked with last summer, Fabian Rieder for Switzerland, has looked excellent this tournament. And it's slightly depressing when you see them names linked with you and you're like, what we could have had. But
and to answer your question about replacing them, it'll likely be a player, and this is not a dig, because let's be honest, most of the players that we've got to be linked to will not know. So it'd be great if you got somebody for $1.5 million again. That would be right up the board's street. But I think you've got to have to invest decent money. Now I'm not expecting, like we said, like your Fabian Rieder's 15 million type money, but I think you've got to have to be going between sort of 6, 7, 8 million maybe to realistically try and improve on that guy. You can't be valuing a guy at 30 million and try to replace him with somebody at 2. Like you done with Jota, you valued him at 25 and replaced him with a £3.5 million player. Doesn't work.
Yeah, who most of us want out of the club in Louise Palma. But like, just a quick one, by the way. Is it your elections tomorrow? There's a lot of election chat. Is that what's happening?
It's yours
Yeah.
as well, Stephen. Is it my
Mate, I couldn't give a flying hoot about the government over here. They're a load of shite, to say the least. But like, whatever. I just was wondering because there's loads of chat about that. But Gavin, we'll kind of end the podcast on a wee bit of Euros chat, as the double pivot always is. We kind of dovetail into other things, and we've got Spain, Germany, Portugal, France, England, Switzerland, Netherlands, and Turkey are the matchups. For yourself,
for your quiz, like
what?
you keeping the last out to get it to free for your quiz, like
Maybe we'll see. But what for yourself, Gav? Have you any favourite at the moment for the tournament?
Well, there's who I would like to win and who I think will win. By the way, I think it's really, really unfortunate that we've got on Friday evening we've got Spain and Germany facing off against each other. That's just pants, man. It's pants. There's one side which is heavily stacked in terms of quality, at least partly on paper. Like Portugal, France, Germany, Spain, and then the other half, it's just England potentially waltzing to the final. It's really difficult to come to grips with. In terms of who I think will win, at the moment, in terms of who is playing well, I think it's a toss of the coin between Spain and Germany. On paper, I think France, with their defence, is really, really strong. If they were to click into gear, and I think France have got all they need in terms of quality to win the tournament. But if France don't up their game, then I think it's either Spain or Germany. And because of home advantage, I probably just nudge it towards Germany.
Nudge it towards Germany. Like I mean, Spain are, for me anyway, frankly, are probably the most exciting thing that I've watched so far in this European Championships. As I mentioned, their players are Nico Williams, Yamal. Oh my, that Yamal is incredible. I think he's already linked with a £200 million move to the PSG. And I do agree, having them two face off, Cav, is like, why this early on? But it has to happen. These teams have to fall somewhere or another. And I had Austria as my dark horses. I thought Ralph Rangnick had them playing. Yeah, had them playing extremely well until Turkey kind of took care of them last night, which was unfortunate. But just at this moment, before we come on to Pacific games and just players in general, I mean, who would be your favourite now getting into the quarterfinals of the European Championships?
I'm with Gav. It's for me, it's a toss up between Spain and Germany. I think they've been the most Spain especially. I think they've been the two most impressive teams. Spain, to an extent, surprised. I know Scotland obviously played them in their qualifiers, but I think they have Cucurella, any chance. Fucking Chelsea spent 60 million on him. Loaded, did they know? And I also don't think he's that good, I'll be honest. I mean, he's not a bad player, but he's not a £60 million player either. But Spain have surprised me how well they have played. And it's not they've kind of deviated away from the sort of tiki-taka sort of football, and I think that's benefiting. I mean, they're still Morata, I think, it's only about 32, but it just feels like he's been there for absolute years. But he functions. He's far from a world-class player, but he functions well on that team. He does a lot of the dirty work. So like your Nico Williams and Yamal can flourish. You've obviously got Rodri, who is probably the best outside. Well, maybe Kante's maybe still doing it, even though he's still there and he's there in Saudi. But there's no many better sort of defensive midfielders than Rodri. The defence for Spain is maybe a bit shaky. The keeper, that's not as strong as it has been in the past. But midfield to front, they're really, really good. Germany, obviously, as hosts, been brilliant. Obviously, absolutely batter Scotland. I've also got guys like Florian Wirtz, Fulkrug that doesn't get a game, but he's just a proper.
I don't like him. Why do people like him? He's not that.
I think
good.
He's just. I think he's a proper throwback. Fulkrug is just. He gets on a lot of crosses. He just
People's nerves.
I just think he's great. He's a great penalty box player, and he always seems to hit the target. But obviously, Tony Kroos just seems to be wanting to go out with an absolute bang right now with Champions League and Euros. He's playing really good in this tournament. But I mean, like Gav said, France, the talent they've got, their defence is ridiculous. Saliba's frightening, absolutely frightening. Koundé right back is a really top player as well.
They haven't been great though this tournament. They
haven't. And like Gavin said, surely they've got to click eventually. I mean, an ideal situation for me and Willie with Ronaldo scoring 5 or 6 goals in the next couple of games and France winning it, because we've got a wee double at Ronaldo and France to win it. I've also got, what's the other one? Mbappe in Germany. So I've got, neither's coming up, let's be honest. Neither's coming up. But for me, I think Spain look the better team. I think it was Monty that said that the winner for me comes from Spain or Germany. I think England might struggle against Switzerland. But
yeah, and Gavin, before we come on to that Switzerland and England game, and like we're not discussing this from an English point of view, fucking absolutely not. But from a Switzerland point of view, is there any player in particular in the Euros that's really impressed you? As I said, look, I can't really go past Yamal. I think he's been excellent. I think if I'm looking at Germany, I think Kai Havertz, even though I don't think he's a striker, but he's just really elegant on the ball. Tony Kroos could still play for another 2 to 3 years. Rudiger is an absolute machine at the back. I used to think he was awful at Chelsea, but he's just found another gear. Going to Real Madrid, his game's just went on to a new level. But any player of the tournament so far, you like to do baller of the week? You can even do it here. Anyone you would like to mention?
Well, we already knew this guy had a great season with Napoli. Not last season, but the previous season. The Georgian winger, Karac, whatever his name is. Sorry.
I'll give you that because I can't say it myself.
That's bad. Don't say the joke. We all know who it is.
Well, you say his name. You pronounce his name then, Stephen.
Nah.
I can't say it.
People were accusing him of being like a one-season wonder, but the guy is so exciting playing football. He's just what a winger should be. Great two-footed player. Sadly, they're out. And by the way, a lot of the Eastern European countries have been brilliant. Slovakia, Slovenia, Georgia, even Romania as well. Really, really exciting. Brought a lot to this tournament. So I think he was one. I really like Lobotka, who was a number 6 position for Slovenia. Really, really interesting. He plays for Napoli as well, funnily enough. Gakpo has been pretty good for Netherlands. And Musiala has been really good for Germany. We knew about his quality anyway. And by the way, a shout out to the Portuguese goalkeeper who saved 3 penalties. Unreal. Who spared Cristiano Ronaldo's blushes. There's been a few players. But the superstars like Mbappe has not really hit the heights. Bit of a shame that he had the injury and he has to play with a face mask. I think that kind of takes away your awareness to an extent. Kvaradona, that's what the Napoli fans call him. Thanks, mate. To the other side, that's a simplification. I did make the comment in the group chat. I don't know if people agreed or disagreed. I felt that there's a genuine lack of superstars. It doesn't detract from the overall entertainment, because I think that it has been entertaining as a tournament. Whether you want to say it's high quality, low quality, but I think a lot of the games are even. But I do think there's been a lack of genuine superstars compared to previous generations. Us, we grew up in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Those decades were littered with genuine superstars. I think maybe not so much right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not enjoying the tournament.
Yeah, I have to say as well that Georgian goalkeeper, I can't really look past him. He's been, was incredible for the national team. And Kvaradona, like Ryan said and you said, Galvin. Anyone in particular for you, Franny, even from the smaller nations? I mean, Switzerland, I think that some of their players have been excellent. Names are escaping me right now, which is a bad thing, but some of their, Granit Xhaka, he's had a brilliant tournament. Their leader, their captain. Do you know what I mean? And Bolo, I'm going forward as well. So they're a really exciting team. And what do you think about, again, not from an English point of view, because I've having some laugh reading the Gareth Southgate things, which is quite funny. I think I seen one Gareth Southgate stops at traffic lights on GTA. He wears a life jacket going into the swimming or no into the bath, and it's just funny watching all that, but and seeing that. But do you think Switzerland could cause them? I wouldn't say upset. I'm going to be honest. I think England have been shite.
Mm-hmm.
I think Switzerland have been a really good unit. They play that kind of 3-5-2 formation, 3-4-3, depending on if they're attacking or defending. They look exciting, they look quick, and they can leave the likes of Shaqiri on the bench. So that speaks volumes of the quality they have come through their team at the moment. And I wouldn't be afraid from a Switzerland point of view facing a team that are yet to click, if you believe the pundits.
I mean, I think they have yet to click. That's no Peter in the bush. England have got a lot of really, really good players. Not got a lot of world class players like the English media anyway would let you believe, but they've got really, really top players. And their team, like Jude Bellingham's an absolute superstar. He's not world class yet, but he's well on the way to being one. He's a top player. But for me, Switzerland, I think will give them a real chance. Or that's almost degrading a wee bit to Switzerland, but I think it'll be a really good game. I think it'll be England's hardest test. Yeah, a lot of that's down to the way England have been playing. We've all kind of been saying it in the group chat that we feel England are a good manager away from winning one of these tournaments because they have got the team to do it. Just Gareth Southgate's too defensive minded in a good way to not do it. I think he's too pragmatic and too much a shite bag at the end of the day. Similar to with Martinez at Portugal, that's a great bunch of players he's got. But I just think he's no good manager.
Lukaku has lost it, man.
Look at Martinez. He's had an absolute fantastic Belgian team that were world number one, never made a finals, and then he's got this great Portuguese team, and can he get them clicking? But players that have kind of impressed, like the Napoli boy, that he's been brilliant. That, funny enough, the Georgian striker, I think he's actually joint top goal scorer of the tournament. Yep. He's been really good. I actually think he's getting snapped up off a few clubs. Jamal's been decent, but I think he's shown his age at sometimes, the inexperience, which is to be expected at 16-year-old. But when I play like Musiala, he's been frightening. Nico Williams on the other side for Spain has been absolutely fantastic. But the Switzerland game, I don't, like you say, Stephen, I don't think it'll be an upset if they do beat England. I don't think it's, obviously the English media will make it out to be an upset. The bookmakers would make you believe it's a bit of an upset because for some reason England are still favourites to win that tournament. A lot of that probably is based around, I'm basing it off bookies like Coral and all that, where it'll be a lot of British-based betting against it. So a lot of folk will be betting England. So naturally, England will be the favourites on the back of that. But I just think a lot of the nations, like Georgia, Slovakia, Slovenia, and things like that, I think they're showing that international football is getting to a better standard. Like, go back, like Gav was touching on the 90s and the 2000s and stuff. Like teams like Switzerland and that probably weren't that brilliant. But now I just think a lot more players, coaching's got a lot better. Teams, I just think that the standard, without, I agree with Gav to the extent there's not as many superstars maybe now, but I think team-wise, teams are a lot better. International teams like your Eastern European teams are a lot better standard now. So I think that's a bit of a leveler as opposed to being upsets, if you like, Stephen, which I think I know Switzerland aren't an Eastern European team, but if Switzerland were to put England out, a lot of the media will make you believe it was a giant killer.
100%. 100%. But I think, like, Gav, a few of the names of the Swiss squad are come back to me. Sommer and goals, he's been a mainstay for years. Ricardo Rodriguez, plenty of experience. And Fabian Rieder, who I was talking about beforehand, but totally escaped my mind when I was talking about them. First of all, so they've got great technical players. And what I liked about watching them was, like Franny said, as a collective, as a team, as a unit, they can press, they can go forward, they can defend, and they look like they're in tune with each other. And Maestro was saying England are too disjointed. And I totally agree. I think there's a lot of individual players within that team who don't necessarily click well as a unit or a collective 11. But going into the game for the Swiss, I fully believe from the form they've shown, I think they can do a number in England. And that's not just me coming from the point of view where I don't like England. Like, I don't like England, but I'll be honest and tell you if I thought they played well or they were good here and there. But for me, they've been genuinely below average this tournament. And there's been a lot of uproar. Like the Gareth Southgate, there's been pints thrown at him when he went over to his own fans and people making funny memes of him and things of that nature. So there's a lot of unrest within their camp, and some of their players seem to be affected by it. All that crap about putting out Jude Bellingham, putting out weird Twitter quotes and coming out and doing weird stuff and giving the Slovakian manager that gesture which he done. But it's all getting to their heads.
I love that.
No, that's fair. But it's all getting to their heads in some shape or form. They're not dealing with that criticism or that pressure. So it bodes well for Switzerland, Gavin, in this quarterfinal.
Yeah, it does. It does. Confidence-wise, they're at a high. They're playing really, really well as a team, without anyone being a massive name, perhaps like Xhaka. But Xhaka has done so well, and despite leaving Arsenal, he's actually, you could even say that he's actually got better. He's won a trophy, which he wouldn't have done at Arsenal. And he really commands that midfield for the Swiss. So, England, they're a team of individuals who Southgate, he's still experimenting, which is ridiculous. So I think the bookies, I don't know what the bookies would say, but I think going into the game, I think it's on a knife edge. I am sick to the back teeth about hearing about Jude Bellingham. I'm really I liked to see him play before, but this tournament he's really fucking getting on my tits. So I would love to see England get put out. I was geared for them to get put out in the last game. I was about to pour myself a tall drink and get tuned into the pundits and talking about their meltdown. In the last second, that opportunity get taken away. So I just think that the Swiss have to be on it and don't let the momentum change. The momentum changed with England in the last game at half-time, but they managed to get the majority of the ball. So the Swiss have to keep on it, keep believing, and hopefully England will get put out.
Yeah, I agree. And Gal, can I get your opinion on before we move on to the quiz, the Scotland effort at the European Championships? Obviously, I spoke to Franny. I'll just bring it up because I want to get everyone's opinion on it who's on the podcast. People are saying about Steve Clarke being too negative, not taking the opportunity that presented itself in the last game against Hungary. Too defensive, too conservative, which you could probably look back in hindsight now and say, I think it was. I think they probably should have went for it earlier than they did, and eventually got put to the sword and got put out of the Euros. But where did you stand on that, and the backlash that Steve Clarke's faced, especially on the Twitter sphere? It's off the scale at the minute with people saying get rid of and things like that.
Look, I don't really care that much about the Scotland national team, so I think I'm able to talk about this from a neutral point of view, which might annoy some people. But be careful what you wish for, because Clarke did get them to 2 tournaments. It's a bit like England in a way, where England are always great in the qualification phase, but not so good at tournaments. Scotland did surprisingly really, really well. I think they finished second in the qualification stage. But at the tournament, they lost their bottle. They had bad injuries, which took away some of a few useful players. But the game against Germany, it's almost verging on criminal. The attitude that they showed, the fight that they showed. Roy Keane summarised it really well. He said, you might be up against a better team. That happens so often. But if you play with aggression, if you press down quickly, then that puts off the teams with quality, stops them from getting into a rhythm. Scotland looked, they looked like they had no balls in that first game. And it was going to be difficult. It was always going to be difficult for them to get a result in that game, but they just played it into Germany's hands. and they became a laughing stock after that game. No other team performed as badly as what Scotland did in that game. So that falls on the players and on Steve Clarke. I don't really care. Do you remember Slaven Bilic in one of those tournaments? They asked Slaven Bilic, he was a pundit, and they said, "What do you think about that? Should it have been a penalty? Should it have been a not a penalty?" And he said, "To be fair, I don't care." That's kind of like what I feel about Steve Clarke. Don't really care if he stays on or not. He might actually be Scotland's best chance to get to another major tournament. It's just difficult to see Scotland get put out of the tournament in such wretched circumstances. Right at the end, where it was that goal for Hungary that put Scotland out. I don't think they put in enough fight, but again, I'm repeating myself. Don't really care, man.
See, Gav, I'm off the same thing with you, right? But what I found interesting was our Franny over here, who usually says with me he doesn't really care about international friendlies and international football. But this summer he went to Germany, fair play to him. He enjoyed the festivities. He caught a couple of matches, or one match, whatever it may be. I think it was a Hungary game, Franny. And you were fully into it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously being Scottish and being over there for that tournament is fantastic. And Ryan comes in, and this is looking back in hindsight for yourself. So Clarke far too negative. Like for like subs, one shot on target when a win was needed to go through, 4 total shots on goal all tournament. 2 of them were Grant fucking Hanley. When you look back in hindsight now, do you think it was a wasted opportunity, or do you think he's done as best as Scotland could do in the circumstances?
No, I would agree. I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity. I will caveat for the start and kind of concede, Stephen, you're a wee bit right, and probably guys like Willie and Ross are better qualified to discuss Scotland than myself. I openly admit a massive glory hunter, and the summer has shown that, Stephen.
You loved it. You loved it.
The fact that I booked a trip to Germany because Scotland has qualified. I shamelessly admit I'm a glory hunter. I'm not denying that. I mean, I was absolutely gutted after the Hungary goal. Was at the fan park watching the game. Oh, I was not a fan of them, I'll be honest. Literally was not a fan of them. The currywurst was nice, but that was amazing. But that was a great experience. I do think I think maybe the Germany game maybe spooked the team. And then Switzerland, obviously, we're talking about them. They have got real genuine quality. Obviously, it was a bit of a mistake at the back. I know Ralston takes a lot of flack for it, and I'm not just going to defend the guy because he plays with Celtic. I just thought one of the Vince toys there.
I thought that was the end of the podcast. No, I don't think you get that siren on a TV show. No, we're close to the end.
Grant Hanley played a horrendous pass to Billy Gilmore, and then Billy Gilmore probably doesn't need to play it back to Ralston, but he tries to. Nobody's really giving Ralston an option. Not excusing Ralston's pass, but I think Ralston got hung out to dry a wee bit for that one. By the way, the steins are nice. They're about the size of my head.
It took you 2 working days to finish one.
It did, Stephen. Cheap. It was cheap for me, but I think that maybe spooked us. I think, like I say, we missed our 2 right back, our 2 first choice. Well, Hickey, our first choice, and Patterson, our second choice right back, were both injured for the competition. That's not going to help. Tierney gets injured against Switzerland, so every game in the group stages we never once played with a back line that got us there. And I think that was a big factor in it. I do think we went a bit too defensive. I will admit that. I think we gave Hungary too much respect. I think Hungary had a great qualifying campaign, and I think that maybe got to us, and we thought they were going to be a real test. Where outside Szoboszlai, I don't think they're a great team either. And I think we showed Hungary too much respect in that last game. I think we should have went for the medal. I still think we're absolutely denied a Stonewall penalty in that game. But for me, Scotland, they didn't do enough. Would I get rid of Steve Clarke? I think I would. Who out there is? I did mention David Moyes to Ross and that, but Ross rightly said that David Moyes is a similar manager to Steve Clarke, where he's a bit defence minded. I suppose maybe to count that, David Moyes managed to win not that was Scotland's ever got to win a major tournament, but he did manage to win a European trophy with West Ham, so he maybe knows how to sit in and play counter-attacking football. But if you look at Steve Clarke's last couple of campaigns in the qualifying, we played some really nice football, and I think it's just...
I think he's reverted back to type instead of playing how you did in the
think
groups.
so, because you look at guys like McGregor, again, McGregor taking a lot of flack in the media. I think the midfield three, McGregor, McTominay and McGinn, were all pretty poor in the competition for the 3 games. But if you look at the players, you look at Gilmore, try to think, like Robertson, Tierney. Obviously, Tierney was at Sociedad. Henry's obviously over at in Saudi. But the majority of the players like to play on the front foot and attacking football. Now, I know Scotland's not necessarily got to go toe-to-toe with all these teams, but they've got guys that like to attack. And I just think we were too pragmatic and too predictable. Che Adams ran his cell into the ground. I'll give him that. I think it's still his assist. I think we missed Lyndon Dykes as well. We didn't have the options, and I think Steve Clarke, the team, the coaching staff, I think they've all got to kind of take it on the chin and just go, aye, we did not do enough when we went to that competition.
Yeah. That sums it up there.
I think, aye, we did. We actually did go then. I mean, if only the Scotland team done a wee bit of what the fans done, we would have probably went a wee bit further. I mean, the fans...
But mate,
honestly, I mean, if me, Willie and Ross do a podcast, we'll probably got it more, but I know Willie went over for the full group stages and him and his wife had a great trip, they said, but all the stories you heard about the Scotland fans, me, Ross and Big McCall and Pizza, who we went over with, we benefited massively for that because the treatment we got was absolutely fantastic. Everybody, as soon as they heard the Scottish accent, seeing the Scotland top, they were loving you. It was what an experience. But
yeah,
the football just wasn't up to that.
Great experience on a personal level, but football level, not so much. There you go.
No.
I think that's a good summary for that one. But look, we'll move on to the quiz, okay? And we'll do first to 10. So it's not going to be first to 20. Nice and easy tonight. A couple of easy questions just to make the comments aware before I get grief. Some of it is EPL orientated. So there's a couple of questions that revolve around the EPL. As in the Scottish football quiz, it is it's difficult at times. Let's just say. But look, we'll crack in, and again, shout out if you know between Gavin and Franny. So first to 10. So for the first question, who holds the record for the most goals scored in a single calendar year in football?
Messi.
Gav, that was you first, yeah. That's 1-0. That's Gav. I heard Gav first.
Jesus.
Claude McNugget, oh no, not a fucking quiz. Listen, it's just the end of the podcast for a bit of fun, that's all. Second question. Which goalkeeper has the most clean sheets in Premier League history?
Check.
2-0. Question 3. Who is the youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Premier League?
Youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Premier League?
Youngest player, yeah. That's correct. That's 3-0.
Is that? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, good knowledge, Gav. I thought it was a lot more recent than that, I'll be honest with you.
Question 4. Which player has the most appearances in the Premier League?
Gareth Barry.
Gareth Barry is correct. That was Gav. 5-0.
Of course it was. I feel like James here when it comes up against Ross.
Question 5. Who has the most goals in a single Premier League season?
Harry Kane.
No, Franny, over to yourself. There's actually 2 individuals. If you get 2, I'll give you 2 points.
Mo Salah and Thierry Henry.
It was, in fact, Andy Cole and Alan Shearer, 34 goals each. I was corrected there. It's only 4-0 to Gav. We're in question 6. Which player has the most assists in a Premier League season?
Cesc Fabregas.
Nope. Over to you, Gav. Get the comments off, by the way. I don't even know if you have the comments off.
But clearly I've no. I'm getting gug for nothing.
I don't think it's right, but is it De Bruyne?
It is De Bruyne. That is 5-0 to yourself, Gav. This is going to be a clean sweep. Right, so we're on question 7. Who is the oldest outfield player to appear in a Premier League match?
Oh.
Ashley Young? No.
Nope. Gav?
Oldest. That's a tough one.
I like them tough.
No.
Ran, you're wrong. Maestro is wrong. Malte's wrong.
I
Paul
Gonna have to
McFarlane
take-
finally is getting pumped more than Scotland.
I'm gonna have to take a random guess. Ryan Giggs?
Nope. It was a player called
Terry
John
Shannon.
Burridge.
Oh.
John Burridge aged 43 years and 162 days. So that was that one. Still 5-0. Question 8. Which player has won the most Premier League titles?
Ryan Giggs.
Whoa! Yes. What's that? 5-1? Yeah, 5-1. Right, so we're on
Come back, son. It's Germany.
question 9. Question 9. Who scored the fastest hat-trick in the history of the Premier League?
Oh, I think
Sadio
this is the one I
Mane.
was thinking about. That's the
6-1.
one I was thinking about, the youngest one that's more recent.
6-1. Question 10. Which player has the most goals in a single UEFA Champions League season?
Ronaldo?
Which one?
Cristiano.
Portuguese.
Portuguese. I have to give you that, Gavin. 7-1. No problem at all. Yet he let's see, his was 17 goals in the 2013 and 14 season.
Jesus.
So it was. So now we're on question 11. Who is the all-time top goal scorer in the UEFA Champions League?
Ronaldo.
Franny got it.
Yep, so 7-2. Yeah, I love how he's giving you the points now.
I know. Feel sorry for me.
Right, let's see. Right. Question 12, 7-2 as it stands to Gav. Who holds the record for the most goals in a single World Cup tournament?
Closer.
Oh, close.
Nope. I'll give you one more guess each. It's in a single World Cup tournament, not overall.
Ronaldo then. The Brazilian one.
No, it's a player you actually talk about quite frequently. Well, like not a lot, but I've heard his name come up a few times.
Right. Who scored the most World Cup goals in one
So
tournament?
I'll say the question again.
In one tournament.
Who holds the record for the most goals? Who holds the record for the most goals in a single World Cup tournament?
Is it Paolo Rossi?
Nope.
Harry Kane.
Nope. It was in fact what Ryan said, just Fontaine. He got 13 goals in 1958, and we're still sitting here at 7-2 to Gav. Just give me a wee second. So question 13. Which team has the longest?
Once, by the way.
I've heard his name come up in this podcast a few times.
Because you asked him about it in a question. I think the same.
There you go.
question.
That's the same thing. Right, so question 13, still 7-2. Which team has the longest unbeaten run in the history of the European football leagues?
Barcelona?
Nope. Franny?
Bayer Leverkusen, surely.
It was AC Milan, 58 games.
Oh, right. I thought you meant currently.
So it was. So, next question. Question 14, still 7-2 as it stands to Gav. Who is the fastest player to reach 100 goals in the history of La Liga?
Messi?
Yep. 8-2 to Gav. Let me see here. Right.
Didn't think it was that obvious.
Last question on this one. So it's 8-2. Who is the only player to have won the Premier League, Serie A, and La Liga?
Premier League, Serie A, and
La Liga.
That's a good question.
That is a good question, Stephen.
I'm unbelievable. Like, I'm actually incredible at these.
I get like Pundits won 2. I think I know 2 guys that have won 2. Well, like Serie A and La Liga and Serie A and the APL.
Is it David Beckham?
No. According to this quiz, it's not. So don't shoot me if I'm wrong. But it's Franny, it's over to you.
Oh,
Dunbaldio has it. Studs, Lanigan. No. Dunbaldio has it. Let me see. Maestro has it. No, Ran, it wasn't Atto. No. Monty Oliver Tebley. Nope, definitely wasn't. Celt idiot. Gavin doesn't even curry anymore. He's probably got a curry slow cooking downstairs. It's 8-2 to Gavin. He just needs 2 more to finish this. So, Franny, got to push you here. Going to have to push you a wee bit.
Serie A, La Liga.
And the Premier League.
Franny, have you ever bought any hats off Islam Farouz?
Nah. I mean, I've shamelessly bought Rio Ferdinand had a line like that. It was like 5 something, and I bought one of his hats.
You give up, Franny?
I was hoping that was a sort of a runabout clue there, Gav. I was trying to think about that there.
It was Farouz.
No, Victor Moses, but I know it's not him.
It was Cristiano Ronaldo.
What's that?
Can't believe.
Yes. United, Juve, and Real Madrid.
I totally forgot he was at Juve.
Wow, 8-2. So move on to a totally different quiz now. Hold on. Right. 2 more Gav needs and about 100 more Franny needs. So which Brazilian player was known as the Black Pearl?
Johnny
Haley?
Pele, 9-2. Yeah. Question 2 on this one. Who is known as the divine ponytail in Italian football?
Baggio.
Yes, Roberto Baggio. 10-2 to Gav. That was a humiliation.
I
But look,
the first 3 before him. I'm listening back to you.
like that brings us to the end of the Double Pivot podcast. Have you enjoyed it tonight?
Yeah, it was really good, mate. Thanks.
Good being back, mate. Good being back.
Good. And Ryan got that right. Pele was James Maestro.
I forgot Ronaldo played with you.
So, just to let people know I thought that would have been obvious. I think you got it right after you answered it, Gav, didn't you? It clicked in your mind who it actually was. But just to let people know who's watching and obviously going to catch up via different platforms, our schedule at the moment is running slightly differently. We're either 1 show or 2 shows a week at this precise moment in time. Our next one after this, if I can get this up here, just bear with me. So we'll be back next Monday. So Monday the 8th, it'll be Franny, it'll be McGinty and Anthony Dunn for the usual Monday club. And then we'll be back again Wednesday 10th for a double pivot. It'll be Gavin, Ross and Willie. So that's how our schedule's going at the moment. Any updates, so obviously that via the social media channels and things of that nature. But again, lads, have been a great show. Plenty of things talked about. And to everyone watching along, we'll be back again on Monday the 8th with Franny hosting. So that'll be very fun. So get involved with that one. And until then, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.